Chapter 3495. Along with the appearance of these words, Jade Archive Xiaohua blew a breath of air. On the left side of the stone tablet, clouds of mist appeared and colorful lights flickered. Cypress and pine trees grew one after another, and the ground was covered with countless strange flowers and plants. Finally, there were even red-crowned cranes and other spirit birds flying nearby. Roar! Several beast cries resounded. The white deer, black bear, and other spirit beasts rolled in front of the cave entrance and scattered in all directions. After making such a scene, Jade Archive Xiaohua was finally relieved. He flew to the bottom of the strange mountain and stretched out his hand. The spiritual storage bag appeared in his hand. He opened the spiritual storage bag and shook the fire ape with the sun-moon corona on its head to the ground. Looking at the fire ape with its eyes tightly closed, Jade Archive Xiaohua pointed his finger and the sun-moon corona disappeared into the fire ape's head. Then, Jade Archive Xiaohua flew into the air and looked at everything with a smile. The fire ape slowly opened its eyes. Before it could clearly see the situation around it, it immediately flew into a rage and roared at its surroundings. However, when the fire ape saw that its surroundings were quiet and only the sound of the wind and the chirping of birds could be heard, it was stunned. It looked to its left and right in disbelief. It really couldn't believe that Xiaohua, who had tortured it, wasn't by its side. In fact, when it touched its head again, the sun-moon corona on its head was also gone. The fire ape was happy. It opened its mouth and roared. Its hand also fiercely hit its chest and even rolled on the ground. After tossing and turning for half an hour, who knew how many flowers and plants were crushed, it finally stopped. When the fire ape calmed down a little, its eyes that couldn't hide its joy looked at the strange mountain that Xiaohua had just created. It actually spoke human language. Fuck! What a tall mountain! After the fire ape finished speaking, it raised its head and looked at the sky. Its red eyes were full of vigilance. Who could it be? Naturally, it was Jade Archive Xiaohua who was hiding in the sky. The fire ape opened its mouth and said, "Fuck," which shocked Xiaohua so much that he almost fell from the sky. He wasn't surprised that the fire ape could speak. After all, the separation of yin and yang wasn't a joke. Instead, he was surprised that the fire ape could spit out vulgarities when it opened its mouth. The fire ape naturally couldn't find the trace of Jade Archive Xiaohua in the space. It just stared in the air for a long time, then withdrew its ominous glint and walked away. Looking at the fire ape's leisurely appearance, it seemed that it also enjoyed its rare freedom. The fire ape was happy, but Jade Archive Xiaohua was not happy, because the fire ape was not heading towards the strange mountain, nor was it heading towards the Cave of 3 Stars. Seeing the fire ape walking further and further away, Jade Archive Xiaohua had no choice but to point his finger. Then he heard a song coming from the strange mountain, observing chess, Kolan, felling ding ding, cloud edge, valley entrance. Selling wine, laughing wildly and indulging in love. The autumn sky is high, facing the moon. I sleep on the pine roots, and the dawn comes. Recognizing the old forest, climbing the cliffs, cutting the withered vines with an axe. Harvested into a caddy, in the Shinga market, 3 liters of rice were exchanged. Furthermore, there was no competition, so the current price was mediocre. You don't know how to scheme, you don't have honor or disgrace, and you live a peaceful life. Where we meet, you are not an immortal, yet you are Tao, sitting quietly and reciting the yellow court. Unfortunately, when the fire ape heard this, it roared and shouted, "Noisy, noisy! I don't understand." As it spoke, flames appeared under its feet, and it was about to escape into the distance. Jade Archive Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Although the fire ape's words were somewhat jerky, Jade Archive Xiaohua understood that it was the language of the Xiaoyu continent, and not the language of the Elysium world that he had just spoken. Fuck. This is really troublesome. Jade Archive Xiaohua could not help but curse. Fortunately, just when Jade Archive Xiaohua wanted to use the same trick to attract the fire ape's attention, the fire ape actually stopped in midair. It looked at the strange mountain very doubtfully, and then looked to the side. This strange mountain was clearly different from the surroundings, especially when there were sounds of people inside. The fire ape was not stupid, so it naturally paid attention. Immediately, the fire ape raised its flames and rushed into the strange mountain, landing at the place where there was some movement before. "Ha, I've fallen into the trap." Seeing this, Jade Archive Xiao Hua laughed wildly in his heart, and proudly said, "Damn, since you're in I's hands, how can you escape? Even if you're now at the beginning of spiritual wisdom, I'll still make you fall into I's trap." Sure enough, the fire ape looked everywhere for the singer, but to no avail. It moved towards the direction of the cave of the slanting moon and 3 stars. However, when the fire ape looked at the tall stone tablet, and the words on the stone tablet that it did not recognize, and then looked at the cave that was full of auspicious signs, it suddenly hesitated. A kind of reverence actually appeared in its red eyes, which was far from the fire ape's previous arrogance. Just when the fire ape was hesitating, the door of the cave slowly opened, and an immortal-like old man walked out of the cave. He looked at the fire ape with a smile and said, "Silly child, since you're here, why don't you enter?" The fire ape looked at the old man that Jade Archive Xiao Hua transformed into and was stunned. The expression on its ugly face changed a few times. Although the old man's hair and beard were all white, he looked like a crane with white hair and a youthful complexion. However, if the fire ape carefully looked at the old man's appearance, there was a kind of strange feeling. It seemed that in the blink of an eye, there were countless faces, whether male or female, Taoist or Buddhist, or ragged clothes or brocade robes with jade belts. It was impossible to see the old man's true appearance. In particular, although he could not understand the old man's words, the old man's voice seemed to be directly transmitted into his heart. A kind of sadness, a kind of grievance, a kind of dependence, and a kind of intimacy spontaneously arose from his heart. Almost regardless of everything, the fire ape rushed to the front of Xiao Hua and shouted, "Master! This disciple finally sees you." "Ah?" Jade Archive Xiao Hua heard the fire ape call him master and was unconsciously stunned. He was almost caught off guard. It was true that he had set up a trap for the fire ape in the space, but he only thought of Jianghu Temple's Xiao Jian and the scene of Xiao Jian selling divination on the streets of Longevity Town. Jade Archive Xiao Hua was deliberately mystifying here, but he wanted to borrow the identity of an immortal to give the fire ape a few pointers so that it could protect Jianghu. Jade Archive Xiao Hua had never thought of accepting the fire ape as a disciple. However, looking at the fire ape's slightly trembling body, Jade Archive Xiao Hua was relieved. Whether it was a human or a demon, there was a dream in the heart. In the dream, there were relatives and enemies. This fire ape had been bullied by him in the Xiaoyu continent. In its heart, it probably had long dreamed of growing into a strong person. Now that it saw him so amiable, was it not the same kind of intimacy in its heart? And the result of this intimacy was that it wanted to worship him as a master and learn magical powers so that it could take revenge and vent its anger? Of course, Jade Archive Xiao Hua could not rule out the possibility that the fire ape was still lonely and now saw him as if it had found a home. "Silly child, when did this old man become your master?" Jade Archive Xiao Hua used his hand to knock the fire ape's head 3 times and said with a smile. Jade Archive Xiao Hua did not hide his words and directly used the language of the Xiaoyu continent. The fire ape heard it clearly. "Good master, father knows." The fire ape's words were still somewhat jerky. Jade Archive Xiao Hua pricked up his ears to listen carefully, only to hear the fire ape crying and complaining. "This little one was adopted by master when I was young, but when this little one grew up, master went out to wander. This time, this little one did not know how many years had passed. Now, this little one finally sees master again." "Hee little one, you are wrong." Jade Archive Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "This old man is not your master. This old man just came on a whim and knew that there was a guest coming to visit. This old man has never seen you before. No, you are my master. There is no mistake." The fire ape stiffened its neck and said, Jade Archive Xiao Hua said with a smile, "Since you say that I am your master, do you know my Dharma name?" The fire ape's face showed a painful expression and slightly shook its head. Reporting to master, this little one was still young and did not remember master's Dharma name. "That's right." Jade Archive Xiaohua said with a smile. This old man is Patriarch Subhuti. You must remember clearly that this old man cannot be your master. The fire ape hesitated slightly and knew that it was wrong. However, it kowtowed again and said, although you were not my master before, this little one will worship you as my master now. Do you think it is so easy to enter my door? Jade Archive Xiaohua waved his hand and said with a smile, moreover, you are stubborn and will definitely cause a great disaster in the future. If this old man accepts you as my disciple, won't I be inviting trouble to myself? This little one absolutely does not dare. At this time, the fire ape was actually very obedient. It knelt on the ground and did not dare to say anything, only kowtowing. Looking at the fire ape, who had always flown into a rage and fought with him without saying a word, who would rather die than submit, suddenly become so pitiful, Xiaohua could not help but feel pity in his heart. He thought for a moment, waved his hand and said, forget it, let's not talk so much first. Since I can meet you here, it can be considered fate. This old man can teach you some magical powers, but you have to help this old man do something, and you have to swear not to mention this old man's Dharma name in the future. Yes, this little one understands. As long as I can call master, not to mention one thing, even if it is 10 or 100 things, this little one is willing to die for master. The fire ape said very emotionally. Jade Archive Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand to help the fire ape up. He said, how is it as serious as you say? This old man just wants you to protect an ordinary monk. Yes, I will listen to master's orders. The fire ape stood up and said with its head bowed. Jade Archive Xiaohua entered the Immortal's cave first and said without turning his head, come with this old man. Previously, Jade Archive Xiaohua only used his method in the sky and had already created an Immortal's cave in this strange mountain. Now that he really came in, he found that there were many flaws in the Immortal's cave, and Xiaohua had to make up for it as he walked. Fortunately, the fire ape lowered its head and did not dare to overstep, following Xiaohua step by step, and also did not find anything. When they arrived at the main hall, Jade Archive Xiaohua sat on a cloud bed, and the fire ape obediently stood below with its head lowered. Xiaohua looked at the huge hall and felt embarrassed in his heart. Just now, he really showed off too much. He did not think so much and actually created such a huge hall in the illusion realm, but he did not think about getting a few disciples and so on. Fortunately, the fire ape was reserved and did not dare to ask more, and Jade Archive Xiaohua was too lazy to explain. Chapter 3496. Little guy, what's your name? As if to cover up his embarrassment, Jade Archive Xiaohua casually asked. As soon as he said this, Jade Archive Xiaohua secretly laughed. Yes, the fire ape just came out of the spirit storage bag today and didn't even know how to speak before. How could he have a name? Sure enough, the fire ape's face turned red and bowed. I haven't seen my parents since I was young. How could I have a name? If master doesn't mind, please bestow a name. Bestow a name. Jade Archive Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could he give a name with his half-baked literary talent? However, Jade Archive Xiaohua's heart moved and nodded. You're a monkey that became a spirit. Why don't you have the surname Yuan? And you want to have the ability to understand heaven and earth. Why don't you be called Tongton? How about this? Yuan Tongton. Yuan Tong Tion. Good name, good name. The fire ape happily scratched his ears and cheeks, kneeling on the ground and thank you master for bestowing a name. Thank you master for bestowing a name. Seeing the fire ape like this, Jade Archive Xiaohua was also somewhat happy. He raised his hand and said, you don't need to kneel first. This old man's tribulation is coming, so I've already dismissed all my disciples. Now that I've met you, although I can't be your disciple, seeing that you're sincerely asking for guidance, I'll teach you a thing or two. Thank you master, thank you master. The fire ape was overjoyed, but then he became worried. Master, what kind of tribulation do you have? Can this little one block the tribulation for master? Jade Archive Xiaohua was quite moved. He waved his hand and said, cultivate well. When you know this old man's origin, Maybe you can block the tribulation for this old man. Yes, this little one will do his best to cultivate. The fire ape said very sincerely. I hope to be able to help Master in the future. Then Jade Archive Xiaohua said, rest for a while. Let this old man think about what divine ability to teach you. Master. Hearing this, the fire ape hurriedly said, this little one wants to have 3 divine abilities. I don't know if Master can bestow them. Monkey is really straightforward. Jade Archive Xiaohua laughed. Tell me, let this old man listen. Is this the first? I want to practice a good staff technique so that I can beat immortals and ghosts. If any Taoist dares to bully me, I will also use this staff technique to kill him. Sweat. Jade Archive Xiaohua curled his lips in his heart. Needless to say, the Taoist that Yuan Tongtian spoke of was himself. The Jade Archive Xiaohua said with a smile, this old man here has the 36 forms of the earth-penetrating staff technique. It's just right for you to use. Thank you, Master. Yuan Tongtian was overjoyed. Number 2, this little one wants to learn the art of transformation. Whether it's a human demon, insect, fish, flower, bird, wood, or bamboo, this little one can transform into anything. This Jade Archive Xiaohua was in a bit of a dilemma. He did know the transfiguration technique, but he had never tried it himself. Master? Before the Jade Archive, Xiaohua did not immediately agree. Fire Ape Yuan Tongtian immediately smiled and said, if Master is not willing to teach, then just pretend that this little one did not say anything. That's not it. Jade Archive Xiaohua shook his head slightly. This old man's transfiguration technique is quite profound. I'm afraid that it won't be easy for you to master it. How about this? This old man will teach you a simple introductory technique and then teach you another technique to make up for it. Hee. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Yuan Tongtian's heart was filled with joy, as if he had never been this happy in his life. What about the third? Jade Archive Xiaohua wanted to know what Yuan Tongtian's third condition was. Is this the third? Yuan Tongtian did not hesitate at all and said with a smile, this little one has not thought of the third technique yet. After this disciple has thought of it, how about I come back to find Master? Jade Archive Xiaohua was puzzled at first, but then he felt some warmth in his heart. This was clearly an excuse for Yuan Tongtian to find him in the future. Who said that beasts are heartless? Demons are heartless? Forget it, you can think of the third condition first. This old man will teach you the magic cloud technique and divine sense technique. Jade Archive Xiaohua said with a wave of his sleeve. Yuan Tongtian was so excited that tears were about to fall. It seemed that no one in this world had ever treated him so well. Close your eyes. Don't resist. Jade Archive Xiaohua smiled faintly and waved his sleeve. This old man will teach you the divine sense technique. Thank you, Master. Yuan Tongtian did not know what was meant by 5 hearts facing the sky. He hurriedly knelt on the ground, closed his eyes, and supported himself with his arms on the ground. Jade Archive Xiaohua stretched out his hand and suddenly stretched out several feet. He used his index finger to point at Yuan Tongtian's forehead. A crystal thread came out of his index finger and fell into Yuan Tongtian's body. Jade Archive Xiaohua taught Yuan Tongtian a part of the heavenly staff technique, the heavenly law embodiment technique, the transfiguration technique, and the cultivation method of spirit guidance. While Yuan Tongtian was comprehending the divine sense technique, Jade Archive Xiaohua hurriedly flew out of the cave and only returned after several hours. When Jade Archive Xiaohua returned, Yuan Tongtian hurriedly greeted him and said somewhat anxiously, Master, you are back. This little one thought that you had already left. Hee, this old man still had some last things to do. I have just finished them. Jade Archive Xiaohua explained and asked, have you fully comprehended these divine sense techniques? Yes, this little one has comprehended them all. Yuan Tongtian said respectfully, however, these divine sense techniques require years of cultivation. This little one does not know if I have understood them all. Good, tell me about your comprehension. Jade Archive Xiaohua sat on the cloud bed and said with closed eyes. Then, Yuan Tongtian told him about his comprehension in detail. Jade Archive Xiaohua was very satisfied after hearing Yuan Tongtian's words. He corrected Yuan Tongtian's mistakes and explained the divine sense techniques again from beginning to end. Only then did he stop talking. Master. After Jade Archive Xiaohua finished explaining, Yuan Tongtian closed his eyes for more than half an hour and said respectfully, "This disciple has firmly remembered it." However, speak. Seeing Yuan Tongtian hesitate, Jade Archive Xiaohua asked. The divine sense technique is very mysterious. This disciple is overjoyed after hearing it. However, this disciple seems to have the so-called divine sense, but this divine sense technique cannot be controlled. Isn't this divine sense technique a tree without roots? That's easy to say. Jade Archive Xiaohua understood that Fire Ape Yuan Tongtian's divine sense should be called elemental will. If he wanted to cultivate and control it, he would have to rely on Taoist spiritual objects. Coincidentally, he had the rainbow cloud. This item was originally used to stimulate the divine sense of Taoist sect disciples. It should also be effective on Yuan Tongtian. Of course, Yuan Tongtian did not need to stimulate his divine sense again. He only needed to use the rainbow cloud to strengthen his elemental will and use spirit guidance to control it. Seeing that Jade Archive Xiaohua was almost omnipotent, Yuan Tongtian became even more excited, almost jumping up and down in the main hall. Seeing Yuan Tongtian's happiness, Jade Archive Xiaohua's heart moved, wanting to inquire about Yuan Tongtian's origin, and even the origin of the other fire ape, as well as the origin of the male and female thunder beasts. However, just as Xiaohua was about to open his mouth, he swallowed the words back down. After all, these things were easy to pry. Although Yuan Tongtian might not be suspicious right now, Yuan Tongtian's spiritual cavities had already been opened. Who knew when he would wake up? If Jianghu's matter was delayed because of this, it would be too late for Xiaohua to regret. Forget it. Who doesn't have secrets? This Yuan Tongtian has always been arrogant and unruly, but in front of my so-called master, he is so well behaved. He can be considered a filial monkey. There's no need to fuss over it. Jade Archive Xiaohua dismissed the idea of pursuing the matter and took out the rainbow cloud for Yuan Tongtian to use. Sure enough, Jade Archive Xiaohua's prediction was correct. The rainbow cloud was equally effective on elemental will. It even caused a slight change in Yuan Tongtian's elemental will. It could be activated and tempered like the divine sense of a Taoist cultivator. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Yuan Tongtian did a somersault in the main hall and shouted, "In the future, I can be as powerful as Lu Air." This guy? Lu Air? Jade Archive Xiaohua was stunned and asked curiously, "Who is Lu Air?" Lu Air Macaque. Yuan Tongtian said unconcernedly, "That guy has 6 ears. He is good at listening and can observe everything. It seems that there is nothing in the world that he doesn't know. I learned the divine sense from Master. If I practice more, I will definitely catch up with him in the future." "Ah, I see." Jade Archive Xiaohua said with a smile, "He is born with the divine sense. Your divine sense has a limited range. I'm afraid you can't compare with him." Yuan Tongtian was not happy. He waved his furry paws and shouted, "If you don't want to compete, then don't compete. That guy is the most cunning and insidious. His whereabouts are always sneaky. In the past, when I needed his help, I searched all over Meng Mountains but he didn't." Yuan Tongtian's Meng Mountains was like a bolt from the blue to Jade Archive Xiaohua's ears. It instantly reminded him of Master Qin Qin's death. Before she died, the green seal character, Lu, meant that the murderer was Lu Air Macaque, wasn't it? A wave of hatred suddenly rose from Jade Archive Xiaohua's heart. "Master?" Yuan Tongtian suddenly panicked and said, "Why is the main hall suddenly shaking? Why is it suddenly so cold in the cave?" Jade Archive Xiaohua calmed himself down. He knew that he lost control of his emotions and affected the illusion. His face was gloomy and he said coldly, "Nothing. This old man's tribulation is coming. This cave, and even the Lingtai Fengsuan mountain is about to collapse. Ah, Master, please come out with me. If you stay in this cave, won't you be in trouble?" Yuan Tongtian said worriedly. Jade Archive Xiao Hua saw the genuine concern in Yuan Tongtian's red eyes. The anger in his heart subsided. He waved his sleeves and said, "It's fine for now. Since there's still time, this old man will teach you more." "Master, I'd rather not learn than waste your time," Yuan Tongtian replied without hesitation. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Hurry up, what else do you not understand?" Xiao Hua said impatiently. Yuan Tongtian didn't understand why Jade Archive Xiao Hua suddenly changed his expression. He was afraid and didn't dare to say more. He said in a low voice, "I really like the art of transformation. It's just that I haven't been able to find the trick." "Close your eyes and open your mouth," Jade Archive Xiao Hua said calmly. Chapter 3497. Yuan Tongtan hurriedly sat down, closed his eyes and opened his mouth. Xiao Hua took out the rejuvenation elixir. He knew that six-eared macaque had killed Master Qin Qin for the rejuvenation elixir, and he had also heard the elder Wu of Huta village say that the rejuvenation elixir had some effect on the art of transformation. Yuan Tongtian took the rejuvenation pill and opened his eyes. He looked at Xiao Hua timidly and said, "Master, don't be angry. I'm stupid and didn't cultivate well. I'll cultivate well in the future." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "This has nothing to do with you." "Yes, master." Yuan Tongtian lowered his head and didn't dare to ask. "How do you feel? Can you transform?" Xiao Hua asked. Yuan Tongtian's face turned red. After a while, he whispered, "I still can't." "Well, don't worry. This isn't something that can be cultivated in a day or two." Xiao Hua nodded. "But I don't have enough time, so I can only pass it to you in a hurry. You'll have to rely on yourself in the future. All right, wait a moment." Xiao Hua pointed his finger, and a mother-child spirit fruit appeared on top of Yuan Tongtian's head. Yuan Tongtian was surprised. He wanted to say something, but when he saw Xiao Hua's gloomy face, he quickly shut his mouth. Xiao Hua pointed his finger, and the mother-child spirit fruit turned into a ball of golden liquid. The golden talisman inside the liquid was like a fish swimming in water. "Don't resist," Jade Archive Xiao Hua said indifferently. With a grab of his hand, Yuan Tongtian flew into the air like a baby. That golden liquid suddenly expanded and covered Yuan Tongtian within. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and blew. A golden light fell into the liquid, and the liquid immediately boiled. Then, like a big hand rubbing it, it changed into all kinds of shapes. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, Xiao Hua shouted, "Quick!" The golden liquid suddenly shrank, and Yuan Tongtian's figure was revealed. The mother-child spirit fruit's liquid had completely seeped into his body. Without waiting for his body to land on the ground, a golden light flashed around Yuan Tongtian's body, and a somewhat strange-looking human figure appeared in midair. It was Yuan Tongtian who had used the transfiguration technique to transform. "You've only learned a little, and you're so arrogant. You can't be taught." Xiao Hua pointed his finger, and a bolt of lightning struck the strange human figure. Yuan Tongtian's body was revealed. Yuan Tongtian had already appeared. He quickly kneeled on the ground and cried, "Master, don't be angry, don't be angry, I just want to see, who allowed you to call yourself a disciple?" Jade Archive Xiao Hua sneered, "Didn't this old man say it before? You are not this old man's disciple, so don't say that you are this old man's disciple in front of others. Master doesn't recognize me as his disciple, but in my heart, Master is my master. He will be my master for life." Yuan Tongtian's eyes were filled with tears, as if he had a premonition. Xiao Hua said Xiao Hua's words. "This is just a deal. You only need to help this old man protect one person. We're not master and disciple." "Yes, I know I'm not worthy to be master's disciple." Yuan Tongtian was very sad and said in a low voice, "Master, please tell me the name of that person and where that person is now." This old man doesn't know this person's name, nor does this old man know where he appeared. However, this old man observed the sky at night and knew that this person should be within 300 li. He should be a 5 or 6-year-old little monk. According to this old man's divination, that little monk should be drifting with the river. You can look for him near the Chen River. Remember, you must protect him silently And don't let the little monk know. Xiao Hua didn't dare to tell Yuan Tongtian the name of Jianghu directly. He simply said a few words, and with a wave of his hand, a big black stick was thrown in front of Yuan Tongtian. He said coldly, "You and I are finished, you can go." Master? If it was an ordinary Yuan Tongtian who saw the big black stick, he would definitely be happy, but how could he be happy now? Go! Xiao Hua waved his hand, and the big stick flew into Yuan Tongtian's hand, and his body disappeared. Master, master, master? Yuan Tongtian called out his master several times, tears streaming down his face. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua didn't appear again. The whole hall began to shake, and stones and other things fell. Yuan Tongtian had no choice but to kneel on the ground and kowtow 9 times. Only then did he walk out of the main hall, turning his head 3 times with each step. Yuan Tongtian looked very sad. Even if a stone fell on his shoulder, he didn't care. He was afraid that he would anger Jade Archive Xiao Hua. Sigh. Xiao Hua frowned in midair. This fire ape is loyal and affectionate. Next, Xiao Hua reached out his hand again, and the storage bag fell into his hand. He reached out and pulled the 6-eared macaque out of the bag by its throat, which was something he rarely did. Looking at the 6-eared macaque with its eyes closed, Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes. He only needed to use a little strength, and the 6-eared macaque would be squashed like a fly. That would be revenge for Master and I Qin. But Xiao Hua was no longer the old Xiao Hua. His hands were like cast iron, and he held the 6-eared macaque tightly. But he didn't use any strength. The 6-eared macaque was the culprit behind Master and I Qin's death, but Master and I Qin had clearly told Xiao Hua to not avenge him. Xiao Hua could faintly understand the remorse in Master and I Qin's heart. This was Master and I Qin's karma, not Xiao Hua's. Because of the 6-eared macaque's attack, Master and I Qin died on the night of the blood moon. This ending was perfect for Master and I Qin, and in this respect, the 6-eared macaque did not do anything unforgivable. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's face gradually turned green, and the gloom in his heart disappeared. He looked at the 6-eared macaque and shook his head. Forget it. Blessings are blessings, and sins are sins. Everyone has their blessings, and everyone has their sins. Don't say that the heavens are unfair, because the time is not right. You may be the sins of others, but you are also the blessings of others. However, I is I, and you must not have the impression of I in your mind. Leaving it in your mind is blasphemy to I. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua reached out his hand and touched the 6-eared macaque's forehead. A 5-colored light flashed, and nothing else happened. What about Yuan Tongtian? Xiao Hua thought to himself. Should I erase his memory as well? Sigh, forget it. There is no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. Although Xiao Hua did not intend to take the 6-eared macaque's life with his own hands, he was determined not to let the 6-eared macaque stay in the space anymore. Jade Archive Xiao Hua looked at Yuan Tongtian, who was walking out of Bir Fangzuan Mountain, and raised his hand. Rumble. An earth-shaking sound rang out, and the entire Bir Fangzuan Mountain collapsed. Yuan Tongtian had just stepped on flames and flew up when Jade Archive Xiao Hua immediately grabbed him. Master? Yuan Tongtian, who was out of the space, could only see the original scenery of the Pure Land. Looking at the place where he came from, the Bir Fangzuan Mountain had completely disappeared. Yuan Tongtian was so sad that he knelt on the ground and cried, "This little one is really stupid. I didn't think that I would have to say goodbye to you as soon as I saw you. Although you don't allow this little one to call you master, you are my master. This little one only has you in my heart. Even if this little one is smashed to pieces, I will still complete your orders. This little one is going to find the little monk related to Xinjiang." After he finished crying and speaking, Yuan Tongtian kowtowed again. Only then did he put the black iron rod on his shoulder. With one hand on one end of the iron rod, he walked in a certain direction while facing the afterglow of the setting sun. The shadow behind him was very long, just like the sadness in his heart. Xiao Hua was hidden in the air. Looking at the direction Yuan Tongtian was walking in was completely different from Xinjiang. He did not make a sound. The radius of more than 500 li was not big, so Yuan Tongtian could definitely find Jianghu. However, thinking about Yuan Tongtian's filial piety these few days, Xiaohua felt a little reluctant. Even cultivators have feelings. Seeing Yuan Tongtian walk away, Xiaohua's face turned cold. He used the wind escape technique and flew towards the snowy mountain. As for the six-eared macaque, although Xiaohua would not kill it, he would definitely not treat it well. When he passed by a dangerous place filled with fog, Xiaohua shook his hand and threw the six-eared macaque, whose memory he had already erased, down. Xiaohua knew that the six-eared macaque would not fall to its death. However, he did not want to worry about what would happen to it after it was seriously injured. Although he did not know when Jianghu would wake up, he did not even know if Jianghu would wake up. However, with Jianghu in the hands of the great Zen master, he was much more confident than in Xiaohua's space. Xiaohua absolutely believed that the great Zen master would not only be jealous of Jianghu, who was only 5 or 6 years old, but also curious. Furthermore, with the great Zen master status, Xiaohua also believed that he would definitely not harm Jianghu's life. The worst-case scenario was that Nirvana Zen master would try his best to destroy Jianghu's state of solitude due to jealousy. The most likely scenario was that Nirvana Zen master would try his best to comprehend Jianghu's state of solitude. No matter what the situation was, it would be beneficial and harmless to Jianghu. It was something that Xiaohua could not do. The worst-case scenario is that Nirvana Zen master is unable to wake Jianghu up. Then the next time I come to Nirvana, I will take Jianghu away. Xiaohua, who was flying hurriedly in midair, thought so. Moreover, this Xiao's Buddha Saraira is also comprehending Buddhism day and night. Perhaps this Xiao will be able to find the way to enter state of solitude. At this time, Xiaohua was not too worried about Black Wind Ridge. After all, there was a large formation there. What he was worried about was the space vein. Sun Jian said that the space vein would collapse soon, but Xiaohua felt that it would take at least more than a month. However, Xiaohua had already spent a month in the Pure Land world. There was not much time left for him. Chapter 3498. Xiaohua was very clear that there must be a direct path from here to the snowy mountain. If he flew straight there, he would definitely arrive very quickly. However, Xiaohua didn't dare to fly directly like other people. He didn't dare to believe in his sense of direction on the continent. He could only go to Saint River first and then return to the snowy mountain from there. Fortunately, since Xiaohua had a sense of direction in the void, the spirit Qi heaven opened. Although his sense of direction on the continent didn't improve fundamentally, it still had some influence. Xiaohua was somewhat off when he was hurrying, but this deviation didn't seem to be big because he was very careful. After a few days, Xiaohua touched Saint River. Of course, the location of Saint River was definitely different from before. It was far from the village where Wang Bianfei was. Immediately, Xiaohua slightly identified the direction and found a small temple on the left. He asked about the snowy mountain's location and once again rushed into the sky. Only now did Xiaohua know that there was more than one snowy mountain in the Western Paradise. The snowy mountain where the exquisite temple was located was definitely not the most famous. It was just the closest to Saint River. At first, Xiaohua was still somewhat uncertain. However, seeing some familiar scenery, Xiaohua slowly felt relieved. Finally, in his divine sense, the divine sense mark he made at the snowy mountain appeared. Only then did he feel completely relieved. Then he once again changed the direction that had deviated by a lot and rushed into the snowy mountain. At this time, it was snowing like goose feathers on the snowy mountain. The fluttering snowflakes were exactly the same as when Xiaohua came out of the spatial vein that day. Xiaohua stood in the sky above the exquisite temple and looked at the water vapor in the pool. He looked at the main hall of the exquisite temple as if he had never left. However, things were still the same, but people were different. The snowy mountain hadn't changed and the exquisite temple hadn't changed. However, the old monk who swept the floor was missing. The snow in front of the main hall was extremely thick and no one would sweep it. If it wasn't for the bright sun, the snow would have covered the entire exquisite temple. With a sigh, Xiaohua released his Buddhist sense and looked at the place where the old monk's body was burned. Only then did he withdraw his Buddhist sense and return it to the exquisite temple. Then, with a wave of his hand, the broom placed in the corner of the temple fell into Xiaohua's hands. Xiaohua started to clean the corner in front of the main hall, just like the old monk did that day. Of course, Xiaohua's speed of sweeping the snow was very fast. In less than half a cup of tea's time, the entire courtyard was cleaned up. However, looking at the endless falling snowflakes, Xiaohua knew that before long, the open space in front of the main hall would be covered with snow again. Suddenly, Xiaohua had an idea. Bringing Wang Bianfei and his mother back to the hidden Immortal continent might not be an excellent choice. It would be better to let Wang Bianfei and his mother live in this Shaoling Long temple and then give them some money and food so that they would not have any difficulties in life. Of course, after thinking about this, Xiaohua laughed involuntarily. This snowy mountain was extremely high. Wang Bianfei's cultivation had yet to reach completion, so he couldn't freely go up and down. Wang Bianfei's mother was also immortal, so she couldn't go up and down from such a high place. If he left them in such a dangerous place, unless they didn't go up and down the mountain again, there would definitely be danger. These two people were not like the old monk. They did not have too many worldly requirements, especially Wang Bianfei's mother. She did not cultivate. If she stayed here for a long time, she might have complaints. These complaints would definitely affect Wang Bianfei. If he did this, it would be better to send them back to the village. Forget it. Xiaohua shook his head slightly and threw away this idea. He walked towards other places in the Shaoling Long temple. He looked at the stove, looked at the main hall, and finally came to the old monk's hut. He looked at the old wooden cabinets around and then turned around to leave. But when he turned around, Xiaohua frowned and said to himself, "That's not right. The old monk is an ordinary monk. He doesn't know how to fast. Even the Buddha who has the divine ability of Buddhism has to eat vegetarian food. But why do I only see a little butter tea at the stove? Could it be that the old monk doesn't need to eat?" Saying this, Xiaohua walked to the front of the wooden cabinets and looked at them. He opened the cabinets one by one and found the dark wooden box. After opening it, he saw the dozen or so cabinets inside. What is this? Looking at the few thumb-sized dark beads at the bottom of the dozen or so cabinets, Xiaohua was curious. He reached out his hand and took one out. He put it in front of his nose and sniffed it. Xiaohua nodded slightly and said with a smile, "So it's like this. This is a pill refined from spirit herbs. It's somewhat similar to the fasting pill, but it seems that these pills are more useful than the fasting pill. The old monk took these pills to maintain his vitality, right? It's a pity that there's no pill formula here. Otherwise, this Xiao could refine some." Xiaohua smacked his lips, looking very regretful. He then put away the bead in his hand. He didn't touch the other cabinets. He still closed the wooden box and put it back in its original place. After taking one last look at the Shaoling Long temple, Xiaohua flew into the sky and didn't look back. He knew in his heart that he didn't know when he would come to the snowy mountain again. Who knew what changes would happen to the Shaoling Long temple at that time? Unfortunately, after flying for a while, Xiaohua suddenly stopped in midair. His face carried a kind of excitement, as if he had thought of something. He immediately turned around and landed at the place where he first left his divine sense mark. After looking around, he actually used the earth escape technique to rush into the snowy mountain. After a full half an hour, Xiaohua's figure finally came out of the snowy mountain. His face was full of regret. He muttered to himself, "AI, what a pity. This Xiao already has the materials to lay down a teleportation array. But to lay down a teleportation array is not something that can be done in a month. It will take several years. How can this Xiao stay here for long? Forget it, forget it. I'll leave my divine sense here first. I'll lay down the teleportation array in the hidden Immortal continent first. I'll think about it later when I come to the Western Paradise. Hee, if there's a teleportation array that connects the two continents in the future, won't this Xiao be able to come and go as he pleases?" After saying that, Xiaohua could only fly into the sky again and rush to the place where the space meridian was previously opened. A faint green light flashed between Xiaohua's eyebrows as he opened his delusion breaker eye. His silver-white eyes stared at the void as a silver beam of light as thick as the mouth of a bowl fell into the void. Wang Wang. After a moment, as the silver beam of light rotated and produced a huge rumbling sound, a space crack slowly appeared. When the crack was big enough, Xiaohua closed his delirium eyes with a satisfied expression. Obviously, the essence of the void-penetrating beast was very useful. In just a month, Xiaohua's delirium eyes had made great progress. Looking at the space meridian, it was overflowing with a destructive aura, but it seemed that the situation had not reached the point of completely collapsing. Xiaohua was overjoyed and was about to float in, but at this moment, Xiaohua felt a chill in his heart. He couldn't help but turn his head to look at a place. That place was filled with wind and snow, and there was nothing abnormal. Xiaohua frowned, and his expression changed slightly. He didn't dare to stay for a long time and hurriedly rushed into the space crack. After a moment, the space crack slowly closed, leaving no trace behind. The snow was still falling and the wind was still blowing. In the direction Xiaohua was looking, not to mention 100 miles, even 1,000 miles or 10,000 miles away, there was nothing abnormal. However, what about 1,000,000 miles or even 10,000 miles away? It was a little different. This was a hall of unknown size, and he didn't know where this hall was located. He only knew that the entire hall was filled with Buddhist light. Layers of golden light scattered in all directions like the sun. In the entire hall, there seemed to be only one person, but there also seemed to be hundreds of millions of people. At the head of the hall, a 90-foot-tall golden body of a Buddha statue sat upright on a 9-grade lotus platform. Around the golden body, in the void, there was a constant flow of simple yet substantial power of faith. When the power of faith rushed into the golden body, it was like thousands of streams returning to the sea, without the slightest ripple. However, the flashing Buddha light around the golden body went against the power of faith and also disappeared into the void. In addition to this golden Buddha statue, there seemed to be countless Buddha statues in the hall. These Buddha statues didn't shine under the golden statue, and their figures couldn't be seen. Even if one were to scan them with their naked eyes or Buddhist sense, they wouldn't be able to detect them. Not only that, but behind this 90-foot-tall golden statue, there was a Buddhist light wheel that was even larger than the 90-foot-tall golden statue. Above this light wheel, there was an uncountable amount of Buddhist light that was as thin as hair rotating. Every time the Buddhist light flashed, a small world would appear in the Buddhist light. Inside each small world, there would be the creation of a new world. Inside each small world, there would be countless flowers, birds, insects, and fish. Similarly, inside each small world, there would be tens of thousands of creatures that would appear and multiply. When this Buddhist light was annihilated, the small world would collapse, be destroyed, and die. The entire small world would be reduced to a void. Looking at the golden statue again, there were hundreds of millions of swastikas condensing into golden swastikas of various sizes. These golden swastikas were born as if they were breathing, and they were also swimming like fish. All kinds of mysteries and layers of reincarnation seemed to be evolving within these golden swastikas. Below the golden statue were 9 lotus platforms. Each lotus platform was as heavy as 10,000 caddies, and each lotus platform was thick and solid. The surface of the lotus platforms also had golden swastikas, but these golden swastikas were like tiny heavenly dragons. These heavenly dragons swam on one lotus platform and rushed to the other lotus platforms in a very orderly manner. The golden swastikas on the 9 lotus platforms connected together like an isolated world. It was as if the lotus platforms were above the hall, but in reality, it was unknown where they were. The golden statue's face was solemn, and a supreme pressure came from between its brows. In its slightly opened eyes, not only was there wisdom that could see through all things and control all things, but there was also compassion that bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. Anyone who saw it, whether they were immortals or mortals, would be filled with admiration. If this golden statue wasn't Mahavirakana, then which Buddhist lord was it? Chapter 3499. At this moment, The Mahavairakana revered Buddha smiled as he held a flower in his hand and chanted mantras. Countless heavenly flowers fell from the main hall and countless heavenly maidens danced in the sky. There were also countless heavenly dragons cruising below the hall. The Buddha said, "For the Bodhisattva's voice to the people of the world. When the great teachings are widely spread and the great teachings are performed, all are gathered in the Seven Treasures lecture hall in order." At the beginning, the Buddha's voice to the people of the world was heard. There was no one who did not happily understand what they had learned. Everyone gains according to their talents. There is a natural breeze in all directions, blowing the treasured tree to make 500 notes. At this moment, I am overjoyed beyond words. When the golden body finished speaking, the flowers withered and the heavenly maidens mourned. Even the thousands of heavenly dragons wailed and wept with joy. The revered Buddha's words are too wonderful for words. A pious voice sounded. Above the main hall that seemed to be void, thousands of Buddha's rays were produced. It was unknown how many Buddha's bodies that could not be seen clearly before appeared. Inside, an old man with a simple face put his palms together and said, "This Ananda Sutra is the sharpening of suffering. Anyone who can comprehend the samadhi within will be able to have a Buddha in his heart." Amitabha. Everyone in the main hall chanted the Buddha's name in unison. Their bodies emitted Buddha's rays at the same time. The Buddha's rays above the main hall welcomed the Buddha's rays of the golden body. The golden body of the revered Buddha was like the sun. Many of the golden bodies of the Buddha statues were not as bright as the stars in the night sky. The main hall that was originally a single Buddha suddenly became lively. Below the main hall, there were 4 ferocious and imposing Vajras standing in front of the main hall door. Each of them held a Buddha's treasure that was full of evil spirit. On both sides of the main hall, there were 500 arhats. These arhats were either sitting, lying down, standing, dancing, or shaking their heads. After the arhats, there were 3,000 Vajras. These Vajras had different faces and figures. There were even some who were of different species. After the Vajras, there were countless venerables and indigo Buddhas. These venerables and indigo Buddhas were all devout as they chanted the Heart Sutra with their palms together. Above the main hall, to the left of the Mahavairakana revered Buddha was a Buddha's body that was 90 feet tall. That Buddha's face looked miserable with thousands of wrinkles. The Buddha's rays were auspicious, just like the rebirth of the revered Buddhas. However, the Buddha's rays were mostly waning with no signs of revival. Before this Buddha's body was an ancient lamp with dim light. Wasn't that Buddha's? As Buddha's Buddha, the Buddha's rays, the Buddha's Buddha's the Buddha's rays. Buddha's Buddha was Buddha Buddha was Buddha Buddha was Buddha Buddha was Buddha Buddha. In front of the Mahavairakana world revered one, under the 9-grade lotus platform, there was a golden light of 80 feet around his left hand. However, the golden light was empty. Not to mention the golden body, there wasn't even a human figure. On the other hand, on the right side of the Mahavairakana world, a bodhisattva with a face full of unswerving determination radiated a Buddhist light that was 80 feet wide. However, if one took a closer look, the bodhisattva standing there with the staff in his hand was different from the Buddha Lord. Although the bodhisattva was a statue of great forbearance and great wish, the Buddha light around the bodhisattva flashed with traces of bloody light, filled with the aura of the netherworld. The bodhisattva's golden body was close to nothingness, with only a faint outline. The faint power of faith was generated vertically from the void, slowly filling the thin outline. Wasn't this bodhisattva the Namo Great Aspiration Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva who would never become a Buddha if hell wasn't empty? Now, the Namo Great Aspiration Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Dharma image closed his eyes and stood on the rightmost side of the Mahavairakana world revered one. The leftmost side of the Namo Great Aspiration Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Dharma image was also nothingness. After the quaint old man finished speaking, another Arhat taming dragon stood up. He put his palms together and bowed, asking, "Revered one's Dharma is boundless. Today, the Ananda Sutra has allowed me to comprehend a lot. The last time I heard Revered One explain the Ananda Sutra was 600 years ago. That day, Revered One only said that this sutra shouldn't be said too much. I wonder why Revered One suddenly began to talk about it today? Buddha said, the world doesn't hear of suffering, but happiness doesn't exist. People often think about difficulties, but if they don't experience happiness, then everything will prosper? My great Thunderclap Temple's Bodhisattva has attained enlightenment for a long time. We live in comfort and have fewer worries. If I don't talk about the Ananda Sutra, what Dharma will I talk about? Once the Mahavarakana World Revered One spoke, the heavenly flowers fell in disorder, and the Buddha light was limitless. That Arhat-taming dragon bowed and sat down. He closed his eyes and pondered. After the Arhats, there were those who had obtained the Dharma with smiles on their faces. There were also those who were puzzled and frowned. There were all kinds of expressions. At this moment, a heavenly king at the door of the hall called out in a deep voice, Revered One, wise Manjushri Bodhisattva has returned by decree. Announce. Joy appeared on the Mahavarakana World Revered One's face as he opened his mouth and said. Following the Revered One's words, the door of the hall opened, revealing the magnificent scene of thousands of lotuses in front of the hall. These lotuses were all blooming with 9-colored brilliance. Under the lotuses, there was a boundless green water. This green water didn't have any waves. Billions of golden inscriptions were hidden in this green water. Every drop of green water showed the birth and destruction of a small kiliacosm. When the bodhisattvas saw the door of the hall open, they were all delighted. They all said, Namo wise Manjushri Bodhisattva. As I heard, for a time, Buddha gave the tree to the Garden of Solitude in the Shiwei kingdom. Together with the 8,000 monks of Bhikkhu, Elder Sariputra, Makasayapa, and so on, were also, the chanting turned into thousands of golden lotuses that flew out from the hall and entered one of the lotuses. That lotus suddenly grew bigger. When it rose to the height of 80 feet, Manjushri Bodhisattva's golden body appeared. A Buddha cloud appeared under his feet and carried the 80 feet golden body into the hall. Manjushri Bodhisattva entered the hall. He put his palms together and bowed. Amitba, disciple Manjushri greets the Revered One. After 9 lifetimes of training, you have finally achieved enlightenment. From now on, you will not enter the cycle of reincarnation and fall into the mortal world. Your golden body is clean and your Buddha heart is stable. You will no longer have any fate with the mortal world. I congratulate you. Mahavarakana World Revered One said with a smile. Thank you, Revered One. Manjushri Bodhisattva bowed respectfully. Manjushri, before you return to your position, I have to remind you. Mahavarakana World Revered One said again, I think you already know when you are in the Lotus Platform realm. My Buddhism sect has 9 transformations of the golden body. You are only at the first level now. If you want to live as long as the heavens and become immortal, you have to go through 9 transformations before you can complete it. Moreover, your cultivation of Buddhism is still shallow. You are still far from being accepted into the Buddhist kingdom. You cannot be arrogant and remain stagnant. Thank you, Revered One. I understand. Manjushri Bodhisattva nodded and said. Mahavarakana World Revered One was very happy and said, Since that's the case, Manjushri Bodhisattva, return to your position. More than half of the 4 bodhisattvas in front of me have returned to their positions. Hearing that, Manjushri Bodhisattva's face turned solemn. He walked toward the flashing golden light on the left of Mahavarakana World Revered One. When his golden body merged with the golden light, the Buddha light behind his head shone brightly. It went straight to the top of the hall. When the Buddha light condensed, thousands of feet of Buddha light filled the entire hall. Thousands of power of faith came from the void and fell into his golden body. No matter if it was the heavenly flower, the heavenly lady, or the heavenly dragon, they all came to congratulate him. Namo Great Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva. Namo Great Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva. The sound of chanting came from all over the hall. Good. Mahavarakana World Revered One was very happy. When he was about to say something, suddenly, under his right hand, the gap between Manjushri Bodhisattva and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva suddenly flashed with brilliance. The Buddha light that was a few times stronger than Manjushri Bodhisattva's instantly appeared. In a moment, it formed an 8-foot shadow. Even Mahavairakana world-revered one was surprised. Congratulations, world-revered one. The Dipankara Archaic Buddha on the left smiled. First, Namo Great Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva has returned. Now, Namo Great Wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva has returned. Our blessed land world's Buddha light shines upon all. Congratulations, world-revered one. All the Buddhas congratulated him in unison. However, the joy on Mahavairakana world-revered one's face wasn't what they had imagined. Seeing this, the Dipankara Archaic Buddha smiled. World-revered one, Manjushri Bodhisattva has returned. Our Thunder Sound Temple had a Bodhisattva Buddha fruit, which is our blessed land world's merit. When Samantabhadra Bodhisattva returned, our Thunder Sound Temple didn't have any Buddha signs. So, the Buddha Kingdom's Buddha Child's 9 transformations golden body should have returned, right? Dipankara Archaic Buddha. Mahavairakana world-revered one pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, "Have you received any message from the Buddha Kingdom's main body?" Dipankara Archaic Buddha shook his head slightly and didn't say anything. There are so many accidents. I'm afraid there's a problem. A miserable expression appeared on Mahavairakana world-revered one's face. Amitba. There will always be accidents. If there weren't any accidents, the 3 continents would have already fallen into our hands. Dipankara Archaic Buddha didn't care at all and answered with a smile. At this moment, many Buddhas at the side of the main hall also had strange expressions on their faces. After all, no matter which Buddhas wanted to attain fruition, they would only come to the Thunder Sound Temple because of Mahavairakana world-revered one's request, and the Heavenly King went to receive them. How could they appear out of nowhere like this? World-revered one, the golden lotus in the receiving pond is shining. I'm afraid that Samantabhadra Bodhisattva has arrived. The Heavenly King in front of the hall's door hurriedly reported. Announce. Mahavairakana world-revered one sighed in his heart and said. At the same time, with the Buddhist oracle, the door of the main hall slowly opened. In the lotus pond where Manjushri had walked out, the Buddhist light shone brightly again. One of the lotuses was lifted high, and it was dozens of feet higher than the other lotuses. An extremely strong Buddhist light fell vertically from the sky and covered the lotuses. In the Buddhist light, the lotuses suddenly expanded to more than 8 feet. Different from when Manjushri had appeared, the lotuses shrank rapidly after reaching 8 feet and expanded again. After 3 times, the Buddhist light disappeared and the lotuses bloomed. A bodhisattva wearing a 5 Buddha golden crown and a cassock walked out of the lotuses. The bodhisattva held a rui scepter in his left hand and looked solemn. When he came out of the lotuses, he didn't enter the main hall like Manjushri. Instead, he put his palms together and bowed, saying, "Disciple Samantabhadra greets the world-revered one." Chapter 3500. Samantabhadra, you are the 3rd transformation golden body. Now enter the lotus pond and rebuild your body. Mahavairakana said. Sure enough, after the light of Buddha disappeared, only a faint outline was left on Samantabhadra's golden body. Not to mention the lotus seat, even the entire golden body was made of lines. Disciple obeys Venerable One's order. Samantabhadra lowered his head and said, not daring to refute. His body slowly sank into the pool of green water under the lotus. Gugugugu. As Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's golden body soaked into the lotus cleansing pond, bubbles appeared in the green water. Hundreds of millions of small kiliacosms emerged from the bubbles and rushed into Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's golden body. At the same time, the golden inscriptions in the green water gathered on Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's golden body. Layers of Buddhist light appeared from the golden body. The heavenly flowers and fairies appeared again, dancing around the lotus cleansing pond with thousands of Sanskrit chants. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva only flew out of the lotus cleansing pool after a few minutes. Rumble. The sound was like thunder. The power of faith that flowed like water was born from the void and poured into Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's golden body. Behind the golden body, the Buddha's light was shining brightly. At this time, Samantabhadra's golden body had condensed, especially under Samantabhadra's feet. 8 lotus seats appeared out of thin air, carrying Samantabhadra into the main hall of Layin Temple. After paying his respects to Mahavairakana, Samantabhadra followed Buddha's order and ascended to the Namo Great Movement Samantabhadra's position on the right hand of the Buddha Lord. Immediately, the whole hall was filled with sounds of chanting. At this time, Samantabhadra Mahasattva is in front of Tathagata, sitting on the lotus seat of Shitsi, receiving the power of Buddha and entering Samantabhadra. The name of this samadhi is, all Buddhas Vairocana Tathagata are hiding within, and all Buddhas are equal and can be shown to the public in the Dharma realm, vast and unhindered, the same as the void, the Dharma realm's sea vortex, nothing can enter, born from all samadhi, it can include all Dharma realms. The wisdom of all Buddhas of the 3 eras are born from this, and all Buddhas of the 10 directions can be shown. In a dust, there is the world sees dust, and in a flash, there is the world sees dust, and in front of a Buddha, there is the world sees dust, and in front of a Buddha, there is the world sees dust, and in front of a Buddha, there is the world sees dust, and Samantabhadra. When the Bodhisattvas finished chanting, the entire Thunder Sound Temple shone brightly with Buddhist light. The Bodhisattvas' Buddhist light shot up to the sky and formed their own Dharma images. The entire Thunder Sound Temple's main hall was filled with countless strange phenomena. Congratulations, revered one of the world. After a while, Fu Hu Luohan clasped his palms together. Although he was congratulating them, the sorrow on his face did not lessen. 2 out of the 3 bodhisattvas of the Layin Temple have returned in one day. That Namo Merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva almost attained fruition earlier. Given enough time, he will definitely return to the Buddha. Amitabha, Fu Hu Luohan is right. Dipankara nodded. If it wasn't for Mahavairakana revered one of the world's teachings, how could the Pure Land world's fate with Buddhism flourish? How could the Buddhist light of the Buddhism sect illuminate the 3 continents? Even Samantabhadra Bodhisattva was attracted by the Buddhist light of the Pure Land world. That's why he chose to undergo the Golden Body 3rd stage here. Amitabha, revered one of the world's merits are boundless. All the bodhisattvas chanted. Fu Hu Luohan also said, according to my thoughts, that Namo Merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva is now cultivating in the hidden immortal continent. When the time is right, he will definitely attain fruition. Think about it, the hidden immortal continent, which is controlled by the Confucian cultivators, actually has 3 bodhisattvas attaining fruition. What a huge insult to the Confucian cultivators. After Fu Hu Luohan finished speaking, all the bodhisattvas started whispering to each other. Every bodhisattva's face was filled with excitement. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva seemed to have just condensed his golden body in the Pure Land world. He didn't understand what everyone was talking about. He glanced at the empty seat to the right of Mahavairakana, revered one of the world, and frowned slightly. He whispered, revered one of the world, is there still no news of Namo Dang Lai Shing Maitreya? According to what I know, the future Buddha Lord has already descended to the 3 continents. However, where he is and how he cultivates are still a mystery. Mahavairakana, revered one of the world's whispers, replied. Namo Dang Lai Shing Maitreya. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva chanted the name of Buddha. He pondered for a while and whispered, revered one of the world's Pure Land world, I'm willing to make a great vow. I'll use the power of this world to search for Maitreya's whereabouts. I'll ask the future Buddha Lord to ascend to the Thunder Temple and become the Buddha Lord. Good. Mahavairakana, revered one of the world, smiled. It's good that you have such a great vow. After a little rest and familiarize yourself with the situation of the 3 continents, you'll complete your merit. As you wish, revered one of the world's Buddhas. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva was overjoyed. He put his palms together and thanked him. Before Mahavairakana, revered one of the world's Buddhas, wanted to say something, his solemn expression, which had never frowned for thousands of years, suddenly moved slightly. Immediately, a hint of surprise flashed through his eyes. The Buddha light behind his golden body soared into the sky like flames. The Buddha seal, with one hand pointing to the sky and the other pointing to the ground, also moved at the same time. Revered one of the world? Not only were the Buddhas surprised, even the Dipankara archaic Buddha was shocked. He asked curiously, is there any Buddha sign? The Buddha light surrounding the Mahavarakana, revered one of the world's Buddhas, was as bright as the sun. It spun rapidly for a long time before it slowly came to a stop. He slowly opened his slightly closed eyes and looked at a certain place in the Pure Land world. He whispered, "Ananda has returned." Good. Dipankara archaic Buddha clapped his hands and said, "There are so many good things happening in the Pure Land world today. Even Ananda's 9th reincarnation has descended into the Pure Land world. Congratulations, revered one of the world." Sai, what's there to be happy about? The Mahavarakana, revered one of the world's Buddhas, smiled bitterly. Ananda insisted on walking his own path, which has already deviated from the Buddha's principles. Even with my ability, I can't see where he is. Revered one of the world, since Ananda has descended into our Pure Land world, how can he escape from our Buddha's hands? The Dipankara archaic Buddha smiled slightly. Then, he waved his hand and said, "Today's preaching has ended. All Buddhas, step down." "Yes, Buddha." All the Buddhas replied in unison and slowly disappeared. "Manjushri Bodhisattva, please wait." The Dipankara archaic Buddha suddenly said. "Yes, revered one." The Manjushri Bodhisattva immediately stopped his disappearing golden body and answered. The Mahavarakana, revered one of the world's Buddhas, didn't understand what the Dipankara archaic Buddha was talking about. After all the Buddhas left, he asked curiously, "Dipankara archaic Buddha, what are you doing?" "I'm also responsible for Ananda's matter." The Dipankara archaic Buddha smiled and said, "That day, it was the revered one's preaching. I spoke too much and caused Ananda's doubts. Therefore, I want to make up for my mistake that day." "How do you want to make up for it?" The Manjushri Bodhisattva was curious. Did the revered one start comprehending the Mahayana Buddhism 10,000 years ago? Have you attained great mastery? The Dipankara archaic Buddha asked with a smile. Naturally, it has already attained great mastery. The Mahavarakana, revered one, nodded and said, "This Buddhism has already been recorded into the Tripitaka Buddhist scripture, which is kept in the scripture repository. The Mahayana Buddhism has yet to be preached by the revered one. I'm afraid you have some reservations about it?" The Dipankara archaic Buddha asked calmly. "Indeed." The Mahavarakana, revered one, nodded. Although the Hinayana Buddhism has many flaws, it's stable and steady. As for the Mahayana Buddhism, it fixes the flaws of the Hinayana Buddhism. However, it's a little too eager for quick success and deviates from my Buddhist scripture. Revered one, Buddhism sees the world through Buddha's eyes. It presents the great thousand worlds and small thousand worlds to the human eye. There are no flaws or flaws. The only flaw in flaw is the human eye. The Dipankara archaic Buddha smiled and said, "The revered one is too benevolent. It's too difficult to achieve perfection." "Yes, if that's the case, I'll preach the Mahayana Tripitaka scripture to all the Buddhas." The Mahavarakana, revered one, nodded. However, the Mahavarakana, revered one, was surprised. He looked at the Manjushri Bodhisattva and smiled. "Dipankara archaic Buddha, do you want me to preach the Manjushri Bodhisattva first?" That's not necessary." The Dipankara archaic Buddha shook his head and said, "Since the Mahayana Buddhism of the revered one is to be preached, it must be spread to the blessed lands." What about the hidden immortal continent? What about the 1,000 demons' sacred realm? This disciple isn't talented, but I'm willing to make a great wish. The Manjushri Bodhisattva immediately realized and hurriedly bowed. The Dipankara archaic Buddha waved his hand and said, "You've already attained enlightenment. Don't snatch any more merit." This disciple. The Manjushri Bodhisattva was stunned. The Mahavarakana, revered one, was enlightened and nodded slightly. Namo wisdom Manjushri Bodhisattva. The Mahavarakana, revered one, remained silent for a while and said, "This disciple is here." The Manjushri Bodhisattva put his palms together and said, "I have the Mahayana Tripitaka scripture, and I want to preach it to the hidden immortal continent. However, this scripture is precious. If I preach it casually, people will definitely look down on it." The Mahavarakana, revered one, said word by word, "You need to search the entire blessed lands for someone who can preach the scripture. Ask him to come to my Thunder Sound Temple to obtain the scripture." This person bears the heavy responsibility of obtaining the scripture. If he succeeds, he will receive billions of merit. If you attain enlightenment, you will also receive 100,000 merit as the Manjushri Bodhisattva. This disciple obeys the revered one. The Manjushri Bodhisattva was really confused. He really didn't understand why the Mahavarakana revered one would suddenly give him such a Buddhist decree. You can go now. Before the Manjushri Bodhisattva asked any more questions, he said, after I figure it out, I'll preach the Buddhist decree the next time I preach. Yes, this disciple understands. The Manjushri Bodhisattva hurriedly bowed. However, when he stood up, the Mahavarakana revered one's golden body had already disappeared. In front of him was the Dipankara Archaic Buddha who was smiling at him. Dipankara Archaic Buddha. The Manjushri Bodhisattva's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Please teach me." The Dipankara Archaic Buddha smiled slightly. His mouth moved as if he didn't say anything. However, the Manjushri Bodhisattva heard it clearly. It was the Dipankara Archaic Buddha's heart connection. This heart connection only had 3 words, Ananda. Amitba. The Manjushri Bodhisattva smiled slightly. When he turned around, his golden body slowly disappeared. The Dipankara Archaic Buddha looked at the empty Thunderclap Temple's great hall, then at the Maitreya Buddha's empty seat. He let out a slight sigh and muttered, "Sigh, another sutra seeking." Just as the Buddha light was about to disappear, a calm voice resounded, "Dipankara Archaic Buddha, what do you mean by that? Does the revered one not know?" The Dipankara Archaic Buddha smiled faintly. "When I was in my 4th life, the revered one was in his 3rd life. Wasn't it the so-called Great Tang Empire? That eastern victory proud comes to the divine lands, a stone monkey." The Dipankara Archaic Buddha's words were like flowing water. However, his words revealed the secrets of Buddhism. Chapter 3501. Xiao Huan naturally didn't know that it was the powerful Mahavarakana revered one's thoughts that made him vigilant and said that he had entered the space. He stood in the void with a frown and opened his delusion breaker Dharma eye to carefully examine his surroundings. Similar to what he thought, although the nearby space had already begun to collapse, it hadn't completely collapsed. If Xiao Hua insisted on entering, the chances of finding a way to return to the hidden immortal continent were still very high. Xiao Hua closed his Dharma eye and released his Buddhist sense and divine sense. After exploring for a moment, he made a decision in his heart. Lightning flashed around Xiao Hua's body. He used his most proficient lightning escape technique and rushed into the depths of the space. When he used the lightning escape technique, Xiao Hua was delighted. Ever since he formed his nascent soul in the void, he had always been pretending to be a monk in the pure land of ultimate bliss. He had never truly used the imperial lightning escape technique. Even in the profound water palace, he had only used it for a little while and didn't see much progress. Today, when he used the heaven and earth escape technique, his speed immediately soared. The lightning around his body overflowed like water and wrapped around Xiao Hua's entire body. Moreover, the lightning seemed to have left Xiao Hua's body, making him feel as if he had a pair of wings on his back. Wonderful! Thunder tranquility, thunder movement, and even thunder ascension. At this moment, this Xiao has reached the limit of thunder movement. I estimate that it won't take long for me to enter the thunder ascension realm. Lightning travel 3 realms, you really don't know how arrogant you are. Xiao Hua clapped his hands and laughed. He knew in his heart that after he became a nascent soul, the inner cores of the male and female lightning beasts merged into his nascent soul. His nascent soul could control heavenly lightning as if it was at its fingertips. It was inevitable that his lightning escape technique would make great progress. The joy of the lightning escape technique's improvement was still small. Xiao Hua was the happiest when he flew leisurely in the void that was close to the space. Previously, Xiao Hua already knew that his sense of direction in the void was unparalleled. However, when he entered the void again, he truly understood his own ability. Having this sense of direction in the void gave him a greater sense of accomplishment than any other kind of sacred art he cultivated. This was the only innate ability that Xiao Hua had discovered so far. Every time he flew into a void passage and saw that it had collapsed, he would immediately retreat without hesitation. Looking at the choices of 3 or 4 forks in front of him, he didn't need to think at all. Just by looking at these forks with his naked eye, he could immediately determine which one he could take, which one might take him around, and which one was the closest. Of course, because the spatial network was collapsing one after another, Xiaohua's judgment of the integrity of the passage might be wrong. However, he had never failed to use tricks like taking a detour or taking a shortcut. Xiaohua didn't know if it was because the spatial network had collapsed for a long time, or if it was because of Xiaohua's instincts, but after flying for several days, he didn't encounter any special danger. The strange insect didn't appear, the strange flame didn't appear, and the ordinary spatial collapse basically couldn't do anything to Xiaohua. On this day, just as Xiaohua was feeling immensely proud of himself, his tail wagging in the air, he suddenly stopped, slapped his own forehead, and said with a smile, "Damn it, it's true that people are in high spirits when encountering happy events, but even if it's high spirits, it can't neglect proper business. Although this place is a spatial network and can't be considered as the true void, but now that I've reached the depths of the spatial network, it should be about the same as the void, right? Xian mentioned the secret of Heaven's heart. I should be able to check it out right here, right?" Thinking of this, Xiaohua waved his hand, and the broken tortoise shell that G-Man from Meng Mountain's back Earth Stockade immediately appeared in the void. As soon as the tortoise shell entered the void, it immediately flashed with a 5-colored brilliance, and that brilliance was like an oval-shaped halo emerging from the tortoise shell. As the halo emerged, a dark green heart-shaped object flew out from the tortoise shell, and at the same time, the tortoise shell immediately turned into a dark green scroll. It can be like this? Xian didn't deceive me. Xiaohua was very excited and overjoyed, but he didn't dare to be careless. He slapped his own forehead, and a golden and crimson brilliance rushed out, and the other 2 heaven's hearts appeared. The dark green heaven's heart was attracted by these 2 brilliances and cheerfully flew into it. These 3 heaven's hearts spun in the air, as if they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and even the 3 brilliances flickered rapidly, and then the 3 heaven's hearts disappeared into Xiaohua's forehead. After collecting the 3rd heaven's heart, Xiaohua took out the tortoise shell that Xian gave him and the tortoise shell that he obtained. Sure enough, the 3 tortoise shells all emitted a 5-colored brilliance. Xian's tortoise shell turned into a golden scroll, and Xiaohua's tortoise shell turned into a crimson scroll. In particular, the brilliance of these 3 scrolls attracted each other, and the 5-colored halo of the 3 scrolls slowly rotated, gradually overlapping, and the 3 scrolls also flew together, fusing into a 3-colored scroll. Isn't this the so-called heavenly scroll? Xiaohua was overjoyed. Xian didn't mention this before. However, Xiaohua didn't care at this time, and with a grab of his hand, the 3-colored scroll fell into his hand. However, when Xiaohua flipped through the book, a strange expression appeared on his face again. This was because the scroll was completely blank. Not to mention the inscriptions he was looking for, there wasn't even a single ordinary word. It was like a wordless heavenly scroll. Damn it! Xiaohua immediately understood why Xian didn't say anything. He could even guess the gloating expression on Xian's face when she found out that he had opened the heavenly scroll in the void. Yes, Xian had this heavenly scroll for who knows how long. Looking at the things that Xian prepared to enter the profound water palace, it was clear that Xian's scholarly family's background was very deep. Even Xian, who had such a background, was helpless against this wordless heavenly scroll, so how could Xiaohua see through it? No wonder this guy was so generous. Xiaohua secretly curled his lips. So this thing is a piece of trash. With that thought in mind, Xiaohua released his divine sense, Buddhist awareness, and soul awareness in succession, but they were all to no avail. In the end, he opened his delirium dharma eye, but unfortunately, all he saw was a tortoise shell. He couldn't even see the heavenly scripture, let alone the words. Forget it. I'm afraid the opportunity hasn't come yet. Xiaohua shrugged and prepared to send the heavenly scroll into the space. However, the moment he raised his hand, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. A trace of a smile appeared on his face, and then he closed his eyes. The nascent soul in his lower dantian emerged from the top of his head. The nascent soul entered the void and immediately revealed itself. This guy actually stood on top of Xiaohua's head and stretched lazily. He opened his small mouth and yawned as if he had finally arrived home. Then, with a wave of his small hand, the heavenly scroll fell into his hand. Haha! When the nascent soul's gaze fell on the three-colored heavenly scroll, he let out a burst of wild laughter. That laughter was extremely lewd. Little Xian, you are very wrong. The nascent soul laughed and shouted, You think that if you can't see it, others can't see it? This Xiao's naked eyes and Dharma eyes can't see it, but this nascent soul can. 5 cheese unifications. This is the true cultivation method of 5 cheese unifications. Rumble. Just as Xiaohua was laughing wildly, a thunderous sound could be heard coming from the void within 300 meters. The grayish-white color was like 10,000 snakes dancing wildly, and the entire void passage was rapidly collapsing. Damn it, it must be Xian's resentment. Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly let his nascent soul return and urged his flying technique to rush forward. Of course, the stingy Xiaohua wouldn't let go of this rare opportunity in the void. He called out the green-robed Xiaohua again and let him control his nascent soul and lie on top of his head to read the wordless heavenly scroll. The Black Cloud Ridge was still the same Black Cloud Ridge. The thick mist of the Black Cloud family's patriarch lingered around the mountain ridge. There were still a few merchants passing through the area, trembling in fear. These merchants were surrounded by bodyguards. Similarly, these bodyguards were also extremely vigilant. They held weapons in their hands and were ready to fight at any moment. These merchants also had no choice. Some goods could be taken a detour, some goods were urgent, and the money they could earn was also great. It was worth the risk. However, their worries became a joke at this time. This was because no matter if it was Black Wind Ridge, Mo Cloud Ridge, or Lion Rock, the demons of these 3 factions had no time to pay attention to them because they were all gathered in the depths of Black Wind Ridge. In the depths of the Black Wind Ridge that was covered by the black clouds, there was a mountain ridge that was 1,000 feet in size. Thousands of birds were densely packed in the sky. These birds had different appearances. Some were eagles, some were condors, and some were hawks, kites, vultures, harriers, ospreys, falcons, owls, and many more. However, all of them had large bodies and were abnormally ferocious. As their wings flapped, they blew away the black clouds and even blocked the sunlight in the sky. Looking at the ground, there were also all kinds of ferocious beasts. Some were tigers, some were leopards, some were lions, some were wolves, some were elephants, and some were rhinoceroses. Some of these ferocious beasts were in human form while others were in beast form. However, each of them held a weapon in their hands and were lined up in a neat formation. Although some of the ferocious beasts were roaring, even more ferocious beasts were waiting for orders in an extremely orderly manner. In front of the birds in the sky, a golden eagle that was 100 feet in size stood lazily in the air. This eagle's body was covered with shining golden feathers. Each feather was a foot long. The golden eagle's wings were not spread out. On its huge head, a circle of white feathers stood upright, looking like a white crown. About 1,000 feet to its left, there was also a lion that was even larger than this one standing there. This lion's appearance was even more strange. Its entire body was actually pure white, far from the usual brownish yellow. Moreover, on both sides of the lion's ferocious head, there were 2 slightly smaller lion heads. These 2 lion heads had their eyes tightly shut, as if they were asleep. This white lion's eyes were filled with ferocity and a trace of disdain as it coldly looked ahead. Chapter 3502. The golden eagle and white lion were several hundred feet away from the 2 demons. The one standing in the air was naturally the black bear spirit. At this moment, the black bear spirit had a helpless expression. The magic wand in his hand was dragged behind him weakly. His 2 small eyes scanned the sky and then looked at the ground. He opened his mouth and said, "King Golden Eagle, King Myriad Lion, are the 2 of you Tired of living? My Black Wind Ridge has always minded our own business with Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock. This King's Black Wind Ridge is the smallest in the Black Cloud Ridge. May I know why the two great kings are suddenly interested in my Black Wind Ridge? The Black Bear Spirit said to himself. His expression was very cautious. The demon cloud under his feet rolled slightly, as if he felt that something was wrong and was about to escape. Unfortunately, neither the lazy golden eagle nor the cold white lion had any intention of replying. The Black Bear Spirit could only say, "AI, today is already the 100th day. I really don't understand. What is the real reason for the two of you to surround my Black Wind Ridge? This king is the earliest king of Black Wind Ridge, right? This king only gave the throne to King Wancho because he was in the prime of his life. However, he actually forgot his roots and wanted to harm this king. This king had no choice but to kill him. Could it be that the two kings had a particularly good relationship with him and are here to avenge him?" The golden eagle's eyes were originally slightly closed. At this moment he suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shone brightly. The Black Bear Spirit was so scared that he trembled. He activated the demon cloud under his feet and instantly fled more than 10 feet away. "Black Bear Spirit." The golden eagle laughed and said, "You said this on the first day I came. After that, you said it every day. Don't you feel tired of it? Don't you understand why I am here? Why do you need me to say it clearly? You and I are both demons. We both know it." The Black Bear Spirit said with a wronged expression, "King Golden Eagle, you are a 9-headed bird in the sky. How can I compare to you? Back then, didn't Old Bear find a flat bird to be his king because he wasn't smart enough? Oh, I am not the king of innuendo. Don't think too much. You're right, you and I are demons. We're different from the stinky scholars of the hidden immortal continent. We should say what we should say, don't speak in riddles. 100 days ago, you and the myriad Lion King suddenly joined forces to attack my Black Wind Ridge. Why exactly did you do that? This old bear has always felt that we came to the hidden immortal continent to be demons and that life is not easy. Yes, it is what the scholars often say. Originally, there is no need to be so anxious to destroy each other. That was why this old bear endured time and time again. Even if I had to give up my cave and retreat to this place, I did not want to be enemies with you all. But you all don't have the awareness of being demons, attacking my Black Wind Ridge from all sides. Roar! Seeing that the Black Bear Spirit was being so long-winded, the white lion opened its mouth and a gust of wind blew within 100 feet radius. The lion's roar shook the mountains. Roar! The ferocious beasts all roared together with the white lion's roar. It was a scene of chaos. Black Bear. The white lion's voice was very majestic, rolling like thunder. This is the first time this king has spoken, and it will also be the last time. My Black Wind Ridge is the world of demons. You can let King Wancho be the king, or King Snowbat be the king, but you can't let a human be the king. You have always been a coward. This king has long seen through you. If not for the fact that your existence is still meaningful, this king would have already eaten you. Since you have spoken so clearly, as a demon, this king will also be honest with you. What kind of array is on the mountain behind you? Since when did your Black Wind Ridge have a Dao sect array protecting it? Who set it up? Ayaya. Myriad Lion King. The Black Bear Spirit hurriedly smiled. You've finally spoken. Look at what you're saying. How can my Black Wind Ridge compare to Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock? You have a strong army and no one dares to offend you. My Black Wind Ridge will be in trouble if there's even the slightest disturbance. That's why this king invited an unknown Dao sect cultivator to set up an array for my Black Wind Ridge. I'm afraid that something unexpected will happen and my Black Wind Ridge will be able to escape this calamity. Unknown Dao sect cultivator? Hee, Black Bear, you're really lying through your teeth. The boy from Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock joined forces to attack for 10 whole days and still couldn't do anything about it. How could it be set up by an unknown Dao sect cultivator? The Golden Condor King laughed coldly. How about this? This king won't say anything. Invite that cultivator out and let this king take a look. Ayaya! The Black Bear Spirit cried out in surprise. Why is the Golden Condor King suddenly interested in a Dao sect cultivator? You should have said so earlier. Since you wanted to see this cultivator, you didn't have to surround my Black Wind Ridge, did you? If you had said so earlier, this king wouldn't have had to be so worried for the past 100 days. Where is he? The White Lion was clearly impatient and asked coldly. He left long ago? The Black Bear spirit spread his hands and laughed bitterly. Both kings are right. This Black Wind Ridge is my world. What is a cultivator doing in Black Wind Ridge? He left long ago. Both kings. Even if we don't meet the Hermit Seeker, let's quickly retreat. This king will also return to the cave residence with a group of people. With that, the Black Bear spirit clapped his hands and prepared to fly back. Caw! The Golden Condor cried out. Everyone says that the Black Bear spirit is cowardly. This king thinks that your guts are bigger than the heavens. You want to dismiss the boy from Emoyun Ridge and Lion Rock with just a few words? Aren't you going to invite us into your array to take a look? The Black Bear spirit scratched his head and laughed in an extremely naive manner. Both kings have already occupied this old bear's nest. What haven't you seen? What else do you want to see in the array? Of course, if both kings are sincere, then you can dismiss the boy under you first. This king will open the array and invite both of you in. What's there to see in your broken nest? This king doesn't even want to take a look. The Golden Condor laughed coldly. Seeing that you have been working hard to greet this king every day, this king will make things clear to you. Invite all the people in your Black Wind Ridge who are not demons out, and we will retreat immediately. Especially the cultivator who helped you set up this array. Sigh. Hearing that the Golden Condor King had finally revealed his intentions, the Black Bear spirit's expression turned serious. He shook his head slightly and said, Golden Condor, White Lion, this old bear knows that his strength is not as good as yours. Furthermore, this old bear is also cowardly. There are some things that small demons like you and I can't interfere in. In particular, this old bear will also give you a piece of advice. When judging a person, you have to look at their heart. Don't sell your life for someone else's promise. Sometimes what you are selling may be your own life. Even if this old bear is unlucky, can you, Golden Condor and White Lion, be free? I don't believe it. Old bear, I didn't think that you would dare to say this to us. It turns out that there are times when you are bold. The Golden Condor King laughed and spread his wings. They were actually hundreds of feet wide. As his wings flapped, golden light flashed. However, the Golden Condor King's tone was even more arrogant. This king came today to see what kind of cultivator gave you the courage to look like. I want him to set up the same array for this king's Emoyun Ridge. Forget it. The Black Bear spirit saw the Golden Condor King spread his wings and hurriedly waved his hand. He flew up the mountain and shouted, This king will not waste any more words with you. You can attack or surround me if you want. This king is going to find a female bear to look at the stars. Seeing that the Black Bear spirit was so alert, the Golden Condor King glanced at the silent White Lion and smiled bitterly. The Black Bear spirit flew close to the mountain ridge, and a circle of light flashed around its body. Its body twisted strangely and disappeared. The mountain ridge was still the same as before. Not even a blade of grass on the mountain moved. Myriad Lion King, this Black Bear spirit is so slippery. He did not reveal anything at all. The Golden Condor King said helplessly to the Myriad Lion King. The Myriad Lion King nodded. This Black Bear spirit is famous for his cowardice. For the past 100 days, he has been very careful every day. It seems like he wants us to slack off. Every time he comes out, he will not be more than 500 feet away from the array. With your flying speed, you will not be able to do anything to him. It seems like the Black Bear spirit is still relying on this Dao sect array. It seems like we can only break this array to achieve our goal. The Golden Condor King looked at the mountain and said awkwardly, But our boy has been attacking this array for more than 10 days. There is no effect at all. Even if we do it ourselves, we may not succeed. At this point, the Golden Condor King lowered his voice and said, Who is the cultivator who set up the array for the Black Bear spirit? Or do they have to force this person out? The black bear spirit's words these few days have made this king nervous. To be able to set up such an array is not an ordinary cultivator. Let's not get into trouble. What trouble can we get into? The White Lion King sneered. Hiding in the array for more than 100 days and not daring to come out. What kind of famous cultivator can he be? Besides, even if this cultivator has some tricks up his sleeve, can he compare to them? Indeed. The Golden Condor King shrunk his neck, the white crown on his head slanted. No matter how powerful that cultivator is, he is just one person. How many nails can he make if he is made of iron? This king has seen how powerful that group of people is. If you and I don't listen, I am afraid we will be killed by them immediately. Sigh. Hearing this, the Myriad Lion King looked embarrassed and sighed. You and I have been flaunting our strength in the Black Cloud Ridge for so many years, but who knew that there were so many people hiding in the depths of the Black Cloud Ridge? You and I have become their cover. If not for the Black Bear spirit, you and I would still be in the dark. The ignorant are fearless. The Golden Condor King gathered his courage. You and I are still useful now. If we were like the Black Bear spirit, I am afraid we would not live for long. Since those people are willing to let us be their cover, we will continue to be their cover. In the future, without the Black Bear spirit, you and I do not need to care too much about territory. Let's live well first. Chapter 3503. The problem is that after the Black Bear spirit is destroyed, you and I. Myriad Lion King's eyes were filled with worry. Will it be like what Old Bear said? What's the use of thinking about this now? Golden Condor King sneered. Since the day you and I entered Black Cloud Ridge, today's fate has already been decided. Let's take it one step at a time. No matter what, we'll live longer than the Black Bear. Perhaps, we should also consider finding a powerful backer. Myriad Lion King seemed to have thought about it and said in a low voice. Golden Condor King sneered. We are the infamous demons of Black Cloud Ridge. Those Confucian cultivators, who would fancy us? They're probably afraid that they won't be able to escape in time? Sigh, it's difficult. Myriad Lion King shook his head. The white lion fur on his body emitted a dazzling brilliance. He looked at Black Wind Ridge in the distance and seemed to be angry. It's all because of that damn Black Bear. He ordered the boy to move our muscles today since we haven't attacked for a long time. Why should we attack? Golden Condor King laughed. That group of people just wanted us to surround Black Wind Ridge. They didn't say that they wanted to attack it. Why should we work so hard? Forget it. We've been surrounded for many days. Even if Black Bear has some food, it should be used up by now. Let's wait for them to rush out. Myriad Lion King thought for a while and nodded slightly. But at this moment, Golden Condor King smiled and asked, if Black Bear spirit and the rest rush out, what should we do? Black Bear's subordinates. Kill. Don't leave a single one alive. Myriad Lion King opened his mouth. The fangs in his bloody mouth were very long. He then spat out 5 words coldly. Golden Condor King nodded. I'm afraid that's the only way. Sigh, Black Bear spirit said it well. We're from the same root. Why be so anxious to kill each other? Bullshit. I'm a white lion. I have nothing to do with Black Bear. Myriad Lion King sneered. If you're merciful, you can go easy. Let's see how those people will deal with your Cloud Ridge. I didn't say anything. I just admired the poems of hidden immortal continents Confucian cultivators and casually recited a few lines. You admire? If the Confucian cultivators you ate didn't turn into feces in your stomach, they could turn into a few poems. The Myriad Lion King sneered again. Putting aside the fact that the Golden Condor King and the Myriad Lion King had surrounded the Black Wind Ridge's formation, the Black Bear spirit hurriedly retreated into the formation. What appeared before his eyes was the simple cave abode that Xiaohua had previously opened in the Black Wind Ridge. At this time, the front of the cave was divided into 2 parts. The upper part was the people led by the Changling princess of Jianghu country. They had set up tents and stayed at the side of the cave. The lower part was a group of demons from Black Wind Ridge. Unlike the Changling princess people, these demons did not have any formations. They were casually scattered among the mountains. Some were lying down, some were standing, and some were in groups of 3 or 5. However, their gazes were all focused on the tents on the mountain. As for the human and demon, there were some thorns and rocks in the middle. There were even some heavily armored soldiers standing there with spears in their hands. They were very vigilant and alert. But the heavy armor and the spears in their hands could not wipe away the terror in the eyes of these soldiers. This was because they were facing the naked gazes of hundreds or even thousands of demons. These gazes were like sharp swords, piercing through their heavy armor and landing on their bodies. It was as if their flesh was exposed to the world, and the fragrance of their flesh and blood had already spread to the mouths and noses of the demons. At the foot of the mountain, one of the fairies swallowed his saliva. In an instant, the soldiers' ears were filled with the sounds of saliva drooling. They could even see that many fairies were already drooling, not good. The leftmost soldier saw that the few demons closest to him had slightly moved their feet and were moving towards them. He was shocked and hurriedly shouted, "Quickly inform the princess, the demon can't take it anymore." Fortunately, just as a soldier was about to retreat and the few demons in front of him were about to take a step forward, the black bear spirit's cold snort sounded out. The few demons were shocked and hurriedly stopped in their tracks. They turned their heads and looked in other directions. The other demons also shrunk their necks and shifted their attention away from the soldiers. There were even a few demons that tried to cover it up by grabbing a few rare blades of grass from the ground and putting them into their mouths to chew on. Master has already decreed that my Black Wind Mountain Range bloodline must not eat human flesh. Who dares to make me lose face? I will kill him. The black bear spirit shouted fiercely. Furthermore, the soldiers of Jianghu country are our comrades. If anyone dares to look at them, I will dig out their eyeballs. After speaking, the black bear spirit did not look at the other demons. He turned and landed in front of the cave residence and quickly walked in. However, his face turned bitter as he faced the demons. Damn it! Without waiting for the black bear spirit to enter the cave, he shouted, "Are you guys done with your discussion? When are we going to charge out? If we wait a few more days, before the golden eagle and white lion attack, we will be in chaos. Boy under my command, do not blame me when they eat people." The inside of this simple cave residence was not much different from before Xiaohua had left. However, other than the Changling princess, Xiao Jian and the others, there was an additional white-haired old man under Xiaohua's seat. This old man frowned slightly. Hearing the black bear spirit's complaints, he turned to look at Qin Xiaoyao, who was also sitting next to him, and Lu Yi, who was holding a horsetail whisk in the distance. He said, "Black Wind King, do not be impatient, do not be impatient." The black bear spirit seemed very dissatisfied. Without waiting for the old man to finish speaking, he sat down on a seat below everyone and complained, "Eldest sect Uncle Qin, go out and take a look yourself. This king's boy subordinates look at the soldiers of Jianghu country. They have been hungry for many days. If there is no more food, this king really does not know how to restrain them." This old man's name was Qin Qingyu, and he was Qin Xiaoyao's martial uncle. Long before Xiaohua left, Qin Xiaoyao had brought a few of his disciples to the Jianghu country to search for the Dao sect cultivators that had yet to be killed by the Copper Pillar Gua. When the Jianghu country was destroyed, the Dao cultivators of the Jianghu country naturally scattered and fled far away. The so-called Second Imperial Preceptor Qin Xiaoyao did not find him, and only found Qin Qingyu, who did not have time to escape. At that time, Qin Qingyu was planning where to go with his dozens of disciples and hundreds of Dao soldiers. When he heard that there was a nascent soul cultivator in the Black Wind Ridge who wanted to help the Jianghu country restore the country, Qin Qingyu was immediately overjoyed. Who did not know the merit of becoming a dragon? At this time, it was Xiaohua's time to use people, and his own help was 100 times better than the icing on the cake in the future. Therefore, Qin Qingyu did not hesitate to follow Qin Xiaoyao to the Black Wind Ridge. However, Qin Qingyu had not expected Copper Pillar Gua to be so determined to kill the Changling princess, and even more so the Jianghu family and Copper Pillar Academy's desire to kill Xiaohua. When he came to Black Wind Ridge with his Dao soldiers, All of Blackwind Ridge was surrounded by the Yao of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain. Qin Qingyu was disdainful of the Yao. He ordered his disciples to lead the Dao soldiers to resist, and had the Black Bear Spirit lead the Yao of Blackwind Ridge to attack. The Dao soldiers fought 1 against 3, and effectively blocked the flying beasts of Mo Yun Ridge. But the Yao of Blackwind Ridge were not a match for the beasts of Lion Mountain, and were defeated in 1 blow. Qin Qingyu had no choice but to listen to Shao Jian's arrangements. He took the Dao soldiers and disciples to follow the Black Bear Spirit into the large formation Shao Hua had set up. Of course, Qin Qingyu had seen many large formations. At the start, he did not have much hope for this large formation. He was waiting for Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain to break through the formation, and then he would lead his people to break through. But reality caused Qin Qingyu's eyes to widen. The Yao of Lion Mountain and Mo Yun Ridge had attacked for many days, but the large formation was undamaged. The Yao of Blackwind Ridge were relaxed as though they were watching a show, watching the flying beasts and beasts fight with their lives outside the formation. Seeing this, Qin Qingyu grew more curious about Shao Hua, this nascent soul cultivator he had never met before. However, after a few days of curiosity, regret came again. Shao Hua didn't come back on time. Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock's attack also stopped. The birds and beasts actually surrounded them but didn't attack, and just like that, they wasted their time. At the beginning, Qin Qingyu still had some confidence. He felt that a nascent soul cultivator would not go back on his word. But as time passed, 10 days passed until 100 days had passed. He was disappointed, gave up, and was extremely vexed. What made his heart jump the most was that he had fallen into the trap of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain. Because Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain did not attack, the people of Blackwind Ridge and the Yao had run out of food for a long time. Also, this mountain did not rely on water. Everyone did not even have water. The cultivators were naturally not afraid of this, but the Dao soldiers and Yao were. When the Yao of Blackwind Ridge retreated into the formation, they did not think so much and did not bring anything. The Princess of Chongling and the others carried some food in the small universe bag, but it could not support the consumption of the Blackwind Ridge Yao. In the end, each person and each Yao could eat very little every day. This was why the Blackwind Ridge Yao looked at the soldiers of Jianghu country with such fervent gazes. Only now did Qin Qingyu understand. How could the Yao of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain have such a plan? How did they know of the food shortage plan? There must be an expert guiding them from behind, and their target was definitely not him. Other than the Princess of Chongling, it was probably that nascent soul cultivator Shao Hua. However, he could see that the other goal of the Yao's encirclement was to force Shao Hua to come out. But what made Qin Qingyu bitter was that Shao Hua's departure was very sudden and secretive. Even the majority of the Yao of Blackwind Ridge did not know. How could the Golden Eagle and White Lion know? I'm afraid that they've mistaken me for Shao Hua, and I'm the scapegoat. Chapter 3504. Thinking of this, Qin Qingyu unconsciously looked angrily at Qin Shaoyao. If this guy had not lured him here, how could he have come here? Now that the situation was hopeless, how could he resolve it? Maybe this is the only way? Qin Qingyu's gaze swept across the Chongling princess and the angry Black Bear Spirit and made a decision. Black Bear Spirit friend. Qin Qingyu laughed and said, "Aren't I and the others discussing? The situation is dangerous now, and it is time for us to work together. We cannot be anxious and cannot be suspicious. Then you discuss. This king will wait for you to decide. This king does not know how to use brains, but this king knows how to use strength." The Black Bear Spirit waved his hand and said disinterestedly. But just as the Black Bear Spirit hung his head in annoyance, Lu Yi, who had been holding a horsetail whisk, suddenly opened his eyes and nodded at the Black Bear Spirit. He smiled and said to Qin Qingyu, "Sect Uncle Qin, this one cannot come up with any ideas. I am bored here and want to go out for a walk. Ha, little friend Lu, do as you please. This is your master's cave residence. You are the masters here." Qin Qingyu bowed slightly, making people feel that Qin Qingyu was very amiable. "Many thanks, Sect Uncle Qin." Lu Yi bowed respectfully and slowly walked out. He walked to the black bear spirit's side and gave the black bear spirit a look. The black bear spirit blinked his small eyes to show that he understood. Then he lowered his head and soon dozed off. Fortunately, it was just a moment. He lowered his head as though he was really asleep. When he raised his head, he immediately opened his small eyes and said apologetically, Sorry, I am really tired. You discuss, I will go out and take a nap." Then, without waiting for others to say anything, he ran out while muttering, "Alas, fellow immortal Xiao." Qin Qingyu originally wanted to whisper something to Qin Xiaoyao, but when he saw the black bear spirit, he also left. He looked around and sighed. It seems that we have to make a decision. If we wait any longer, I'm afraid that even Lu and fellow immortal black bear will have other thoughts. Impossible. Xiao Jian furrowed his brows and shook his head. I can understand if others are disloyal, but these two would never do that. Hey, you can't judge a book by its cover. Who knows what others are thinking? Qin Qingyu said with a smile, "Fellow immortal, don't you know this?" Then what does fellow Taoist Qin mean? Xiao Jian looked at Qin Qingyu and asked, "Should we rush out of the formation and fight those birds and beasts to the death?" "How is this possible?" Qin Qingyu smiled faintly. "You and I are well aware of the strength of our forces. Fellow immortal Heixiong's absence saves us the embarrassment of talking about it. The demons of the Black Wind Mountain are just a motley crew. They're not enough to accomplish anything. We're no match for those birds and beasts. What we need to do now is to figure out how to escape." "Martial uncle, how is that possible?" Qin Xiaoyao said with a bitter face. "If we could escape, would we have waited until now? If this disciple is not wrong, there must be elite soldiers of Bronze Pillar Country outside Black Cloud Ridge. Even if we rush out of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock's encirclement, it's unlikely we can escape Black Cloud Ridge." "Xiaoyao, you think too highly of yourself," Qin Qingyu said with a smile. "You think these demons are here for you? Cough cough, your highness, don't be too nervous. Didn't fellow immortal black bear say it clearly? The golden eagle and white tiger care about Senior Xiao. If it was only for your highness, they would not be so fanatical. Senior Qin, this one is no longer the princess of Jianghu country. There is no need to call me your highness." The Chongling princess also had a worried frown. She smiled and said, "Actually, this one hopes that their target is me. This way, this one only needs to go out and the danger of Black Wind Mountain will be resolved immediately. There is no need to harm everyone's lives. The princess is definitely one of their targets." At the side, Xiao Jian shook his head and said, "But they are surrounding us and not attacking because they want to see our bottom line. Fellow Taoist Qin is right. There must be an encirclement outside this encirclement. But our consciousness is limited and cannot see far. We cannot see the situation outside Black Wind Mountain. In my opinion, there must be an even more powerful enemy who has set a trap for Senior Xiao." When he spoke up to hear, Xiao Jian sighed and said, "Before Senior Xiao left, he set up this formation to hide us, and he instructed us to pretend to have escaped from Black Wind Ridge so that the pursuers of the Copper Pillar Kingdom would think that we've escaped. Back then, I felt that Senior Xiao's actions were unnecessary. It would have been better for us to leave Black Wind Mountain. But now that I think about it, it is easy for us to leave Black Wind Mountain, but it is difficult to escape from the pursuers of Bronze Pillar Country. Especially Chongling and the others, they will fall into the hands of Bronze Pillar Country. The reason why Senior Xiao asked us to stay here was to leave the grudge between Tongzhugua and Jianghu for him to settle. So he can keep us alive. But he calculated wrong. We only paid attention to the movements of Bronze Pillar Country. We did not expect the spirits of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain to come. We were caught off guard. Since it's so grim, I'm afraid we won't be able to escape, right?" Qin Xiaoyao was also filled with emotions as he followed Xiao Jian's words. Xiao Jian glanced at Qin Qingyu and said, "That's right. I feel that we are too weak right now. The only thing we can rely on is Senior Xiao's formation. We can't break out of the encirclement easily. Breaking out of the encirclement will only consume our strength. What we need to do is wait for Senior Zhao's return. Of course, fellow Taoist Qin sent disciples to search for news of other Jiang country cultivators before coming to Black Wind Mountain. If they can come, we can work together. Maybe we have a chance of survival. The other disciples. Qin Qingyu grimaced. Right now, Black Wind Mountain is likely a bait. The other disciples will only die if they come. Xiao Jian felt the same and nodded slightly in agreement. Granny Ji, Qian Li, and Kong Li were sitting next to the Chongling princess. They followed the Chongling princess and did not speak. But from their expressions, they seemed to agree with Xiao Jian's words. The problem is not whether we are willing to escape or not. Qin Qingyu frowned again and explained, it's because the situation is more powerful than us. It's the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock that forced us to escape. Of course, this old man, and even the people in the cave do not care about food and water, but the other spirits and soldiers cannot. It's not like you didn't hear fellow Taoist black bears shout just now. What if those demons go crazy from hunger? Even the black bear spirit can't control them, right? Xiao Jian heard this and said with a smile, I naturally agree with Sect Uncle Qin's words. It does not conflict with I's words. Since we know where the problem is, can't we solve the problem of food and water? How to solve it? Qin Qingyu grimaced and said, previously we sent people to charge out, but Tao soldiers, the spirits, and even fellow Taoist Xiao, didn't you try? The Golden Eagle is extremely fast, the White Lion's abilities are impressive. No one succeeded. We were not forced to the brink before. Xiao Jian answered. Also, we sent people here and there, but forgot about the person who could escape. Fellow Taoist Xiao has a backup plan? Qin Qingyu stilled and said curiously. Xiao Jian shook his head. I do not have a backup plan. The person with the highest cultivation in this cave is Sect Uncle Qin. If Sect Uncle Qin wants to go out to find food, the Golden Eagle will not be able to stop him. Especially, if the people of Black Wind Mountain prepare to break out together and move in all directions, even if the Golden Eagle can stop Sect Uncle Qin, he will not know how to stop him. No! Qin Qingyu shook his head slightly. This old man has the highest cultivation here. If the formation is broken, this old man has the power to protect the princess. But if this old man escapes and cannot return in time, if something happens to the princess, will this old man not become a sinner of Jiang country? The Chongling princess heard this and stood up gracefully. She bowed respectfully and said, Elder Qin, Chongling thanks Elder again for your heart. But at this time, Chongling's safety is not important. If the hundreds of pixies and soldiers could not survive, how could Chongling survive? Chongling asks Elder to risk death to charge out of the encirclement and find enough food for the people of Black Cloud Ridge. Ah, Your Highness the Princess. Qin Qingyu still shook his head. The spirits are surrounding the mountain. This old man can easily charge out, but it will be difficult to return. This old man fears that I will fail the princess. Elder. The Chongling princess said seriously, at this time, to speak the truth, Chongling has implicated everyone. Chongling is grateful that everyone has accompanied Chongling to this day. Do not say that you have failed. It is fortunate to be able to escape with your lives. You do not owe Chongling anything. As she spoke, the Chongling princess bowed to everyone again. Granny Ji and the others panicked and hurriedly stood to return the bow. Qin Qingyu seemed to be thinking. After a moment, he nodded slightly and said, if so, this old man will go all out. Let's get out first and find food for Black Wind Mountain. Good. Xiao Jian clapped and said, Elder Qin should have done this long ago. I will summon the black bear spirit and have him give the order. Hundreds of spirits will charge out together. Elder can take advantage of the chaos to leave. Then, Qin Qingyu nodded. Actually, if this old man charges out of Black Cloud Ridge, food is easy to find. This old man will use at most half a day to return. Taoist Xiao, please ask Taoist Black Bear Spirit to act at night. This old man will charge when I hear the battle cries. All right, we will also lead the soldiers to charge out of the encirclement with the Black Wind Mountain spirits. Qian Li and Kong Li could not help but agree. But just as they spoke, a soldier in black armor hurriedly charged in and shouted, "Your Highness the Princess, not good, a dozen spirits are charging." Chapter 3505. Where is the Black Wind King? Qianli was shocked. Without waiting for the Chongling princess to speak, he hurriedly stood and shouted. The Black Wind King and Master Lu left the cave and went up the mountain. They have not returned yet. The soldier answered. Yeah. You go and stop those yaos. Kill whoever dares to come forward. Xiao Jian hurriedly stood and ordered Yuanya. Then he said to the Chongling princess and Qin Xiaoyao, "This one will go find the black bear spirit. You two prepare. We will charge out of the formation together, pretend to attack, and help Elder Qin charge out in the chaos." And we understand. The Chongling princess and Qin Xiaoyao nodded. Yuanya, who had been silent, hurriedly stood, looked deeply at the Chongling princess, and then quickly followed Xiao Jian out. The Black Wind Ridge people charged to the east, the Chongling princess to the north. Xiaoyao, you take the Dao soldiers and charge to the south. Qin Qingyu saw Qin Jian leave and shouted again. This old man will go wherever I see a gap. Also, if you can charge out, then do so. Maybe this old man will attract their attention, and you can easily leave. No matter who goes out, if they can bring food and water out, it will be a great achievement. Yes. Everyone was shocked. They had been surrounded by a group of yaos for 100 days. Now it was time to fight back. While they were just helping Qin Qingyu charge out, everyone was excited. After a simple assignment, Qin Qingyu rose to his feet and flew out of the cave residence. Flying out of the cave, Qin Qingyu couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Back in the cave, no matter how serious the black bear spirit was, Qin Qingyu didn't care. Seeing the situation in front of him, he finally understood. The situation inside the formation was far more dangerous than he had imagined. However, in front of the tents set up by the soldiers of the Jiang country, hundreds of Dao soldiers had already flown into the air. Each of them held a magic tool in their hands, and their faces were filled with vigilance. Below them, there were also hundreds of soldiers who were already fully equipped. They were also riding on horses, holding spears in their hands. Across from them, hundreds and thousands of fairies had begun to move in groups, advancing towards the soldiers step by step. Each of the fairies stuck out their scarlet tongues to lick their mouths. An indescribable thirst flashed in their eyes, and the primitive desire of hunger had overwhelmed all rationality. Black bear spirit, where's the black bear spirit? Qin Qingyu couldn't help but yell. He knew in his heart that in the eyes of these demons, they were all food. Only the black bear spirit was a threat. This king is here. Only then did the black bear spirit turn around from behind the cave abode. He stepped on the demon cloud and rushed into the air, shouting, "Stop! Whoever dares to take half a step forward, I will kill him immediately." The black bear spirit roared angrily. Demonic chi surged from its body. Its usual cowardice was long gone. Its ferocious aura frightened the bear spirit in front of it. "Your Majesty!" The bear spirit at the front gritted its teeth and said, "We know what your Majesty means, but we haven't eaten our fill for a long time. Master once said that he did not want us to eat humans, and we all remember that in our hearts, but now that there is nothing else to eat, we do not plan to eat humans as long as the soldiers of Jiang country give their warhorses to the little ones to eat. That's it. Don't say such boring things." The black bear spirit sneered. These soldiers of the Jiang country all rely on their warhorses. Without them, they would not be able to fight at all. "Your Majesty, what battle is there to talk about now? The little ones are all hungry to the point that their hearts are stuck to their backs. How can they have the strength to fight?" The bear spirit looked at the black bear spirit, but his gaze would occasionally glance at the soldiers of Jiang country, and said, "Besides, the little ones eat meat in order to live. Even if Old Master comes back, Old Master can't possibly say anything, right?" Xiaohua had left him some food that day, but Xiaohua had never thought that there would be such a situation. Not only did the spirit demon eat a lot of food, the Dao soldiers that Qin Qingyu had brought with him also did not have any food. These people ate a lot more than ordinary people, so the food that Xiaohua had given them was not enough. Of course, if not for Xiaohua's food, the Black Wind Ridge would not have been able to last for 100 days. Children, the black bear spirit thought for a moment, then raised his voice and said, I know you guys are hungry, but look, the soldiers in front of you are so hungry that they are all skin and bones. What can they do? Even these warhorses were left with bones. Do you want to eat meat or gnaw on bones? What's more, the soldiers of Jianghu country will defend against the enemy with us. Although we are demons, demons still have to have morals. How can we attack the warriors by our side? If you want to eat, you have to eat outside the formation. Those bastards from Mo-Yun Ridge and Lion Rock have surrounded us. I've been suffocated for a while. Let's go. I'll bring you guys to eat meat. I'll gnaw those bastards from Mo-Yun Ridge and Lion Rock into bones. Let's go, let's go. Although the few old and wise bear spirits were also greedy, they understood in their hearts that when they heard the black bear spirit's words, they also raised the weapons in their hands and shouted, We will go and eat the fat cow. It was fine if they did not mention the fat cattle, but when they heard the fat cattle, many of the bear spirits were drooling. Their gazes moved away from the Dao soldiers who were slightly emaciated and swarmed down the mountain. The black bear spirit immediately relaxed. Qin Qingyu and the others also sighed in relief. The princess of Chongling, Qin Xiaoyao and the others all charged in front of the Dao soldiers and spoke about the matter of preparing to charge out. Everyone became alert. They were warriors, and had been suppressed in the formation for nearly 100 days. They had long been impatient. Now that they were being treated as food by the demons, they felt even more uncomfortable. Hearing that they were going to go out and fight, a wave of passion rose in their hearts. Rather than being eaten by the demons, it was better to kill the demons. If they could charge out, they would charge out. If they could not, it was better to die. Yes. Many soldiers responded in unison and left under the leadership of Qian Li and Kang Li. Those Dao soldiers also flew to the other direction in front of the formation under the leadership of Qin Xiaoyao and others, quietly waiting for Qin Qingyu's order to fight. In front of the cave, only Xiao Jian, Qin Qingyu, and Lu Yi who had just come down from the mountain were left. Qin Qingyu glanced at Xiao Jian and said with a smile, Fellow Immortal Xiao, you will be in charge of this battle. You will give the orders. All right. Xiao Jian nodded and said, We will rely on Elder Qin to deal with the Black Wind Ridge. We will wait here for Elder to return. I hope that Elder Qin will not fail our trust. Qin Qingyu looked at the soldiers and horses in the three directions and answered, Just as we discussed before, after this old man charges out, you can weaken your attacks and retreat to the formation. Wait half a day before you attack again. This old man will take advantage of the chaos to come in. After speaking, Qin Qingyu moved and flew to the left of the Chongling princess and landed on the back of a soldier's horse. Xiao Jian knew that Qin Qingyu wanted to take advantage of the chaotic battle to escape, so he waved his hand and flew into the air. His hand formed a spell, and a beam of light came out of his hand, charging into the air in front of the mountain. It was like a stone being thrown into water. Many horizontal waves were generated in the air. After the horizontal waves, the ferocious birds and beasts surrounding the Black Wind Ridge were revealed. Xiao Jian shouted angrily, Everyone kill! Kill! The soldiers of Jianghu country were the first to respond. They urged their warhorses and charged out of the formation with spears in their hands. The hundreds of iron hooves rushed down the hillside like a torrent. Although the demons of Lion Rock were in a defensive formation, they were still caught off guard. In the instant of contact, more than 10 demons were pierced by the spears, and miserable screams could be heard. The soldiers of Jianghu country rushed down the mountain ridge, and the hundreds of Dao soldiers also pounced towards the demons of Mo-Yun Ridge from the air. Many flashes of light could be seen, and one magical artifact after another smashed down. Similarly, many fierce birds had their wings broken and fell from the sky. Roar roar! Of the three powers, the weakest Black Wind Ridge demons were different from before. As soon as the starving demons rushed out of the magic array, their eyes lit up. It was as if the aggressive demons in front of them were fat cows. Wind immediately appeared under their feet, and they pounced on them, screaming hysterically. These spirit demons were naturally not as fast as the soldiers of Jiang country. When they came into contact with the spirit demons of Lion Mountain, the spirit demons were already prepared. Although they did not resist in a particularly orderly manner, the weapons in their hands did not hesitate to fight with the bear spirits of Black Wind Ridge. However, just as the battle began, the spirit demons of Lion Mountain were once again terrified, because the bear spirits were not fighting like before. They all looked like they were going to perish together, and there was no method at all. As long as they saw an opening, they would immediately pounce over and open their bloody mouths to bite. Many demons were caught off guard and were bitten on the arms and nape of their necks. Screams came from the mouths of these demons. The successful bear demons bit off the flesh of these demons and chewed it in their mouths. As for those spirit demons who did not succeed, when they heard the sound of chewing meat and the smell of blood, they became even more anxious and crazy. They pounced towards their opponents without any regard for their lives. Seeing this, the spirit demons of Lion Mountain were dumbfounded. Spirits did need to eat meat, but most of the meat was human and livestock meat. How could they eat spirit demon meat after becoming a spirit demon? Ever since they became spirit demons, they had long since developed a sense of self-awareness, differentiating themselves from those spirit demons that did not have intelligence. At this moment, looking at the blood in the mouth and body of the Black Wind Ridge bear spirit, as well as the madness in its eyes, how could it still have the integrity of a spirit demon? A spirit demon without any integrity. It was truly terrifying. Fairies were actually the same as humans. When they saw that they were about to become food for others, they felt a chill in their hearts and involuntarily retreated. The fairies of Black Wind Ridge immediately gained the upper hand and slowly advanced down the mountain. Chapter 3506. In the sky, the Golden Eagle and White Lion were surprised to see the formation of the Black Wind Ridge open. However, the Golden Eagle spread its wings and shouted, "Myriad Lion King, be careful. I'm afraid this is the Black Wind Ridge's last resort. I urge all the boys to work harder and break this formation completely. Let's see how powerful that Taoist cultivator is." Since it's all in one throw, why care about their formation? Once we kill all these demons and humans, what's the point of keeping their magic formation? White Lion laughed and ignored the Golden Condor. With a flap of his body, he flew down the mountain. The Golden Eagle said, "If you don't go, I'll break the formation myself." Immediately after, it spread its wings, and its body flashed with brilliance. A hurricane was born, and the huge body of the Golden Condor was like a meteor as it rushed towards Xiao Jian, who had revealed himself in midair. Its huge claws emitted a sizzling sound as they tore through the air. They were sharper than ordinary flying swords. Xiao Jian sneered and waved his hand as steadily as a mountain. There was a flash of brilliance, and the Golden Eagle only felt a flash in front of his eyes. Although the situation in front of him was still the same and he still saw the contempt in Xiao Jian's eyes, he still had an extremely bad feeling from the bottom of his heart. Sure enough, before the Golden Eagle could do anything, its sharp claws touched an extremely tough restriction. The Golden Eagle was very familiar with this restriction. Oh no! The Golden Eagle was shocked. He knew that the formation had been sealed and he had hit the restriction. He hurriedly flapped his wings and prepared to fly up. However, at this moment, a strong force came from the restriction. This force wrapped around the Golden Eagle and smashed it down the mountain. Boom! There was a loud sound. Just hundreds of feet below the Black Wind Ridge, the Golden Eagle's body smashed into a mountain slope that was 100 feet high. Not only did it smash a big hole in the mountain slope, but it also smashed two ferocious beasts that were guarding there into meat paste. A cloud of dust gradually settled, and the extremely sorry figure of the Golden Eagle was revealed. Its shining golden feathers were gray, and it no longer had the majesty from before. At this time, among the Jiang soldiers fighting with the beasts, a figure suddenly moved. However, this figure did not charge into the sky, but flattened out dozens of feet. Dozens of feet away, it was the Chongling princess riding a peach-red horse and swinging her weapon to kill the beasts. At this time, the Chongling princess had just killed a beast. She was about to raise her whip when she felt something was strange behind her. She unconsciously flipped her hand and the whip was about to strike. Princess Itzai? Qin Qingyu's voice sounded by her ear. Martial Uncle Qin? The Chongling princess stilled and put away the whip in her hand. She did not understand why Qin Qingyu had suddenly appeared behind her. But before she could think, her body suddenly tensed and she flew off the peach-red horse. Martial Uncle, what are you doing? The Chongling princess said urgently. Your Highness Princess, I have received the great gift of the monarch. While I cannot die for the monarch, I must protect the princess' safety. Now is the best time to charge out of the encirclement. I cannot go alone. Qin Qingyu said in a low voice. I will take the princess out even if I die to repay the monarch's favor. Seeing that she had been carried dozens of feet into the air by Qin Qingyu in a moment, what else could the Chongling princess say? While she did not want to leave, she could only sigh inside and wait until they charged out of the encirclement. Qin Qingyu suddenly flew out. The golden eagle was naturally furious. It screeched and flapped its wings to charge into the air. But how could the power of the golden eagle compare to the capital star's formation? The enormous force had not completely disappeared from the golden eagle's body. It stumbled and did not fly up from the ground. Roar! On the mountain ridge dozens of feet away from the golden eagle, the white lion that had just bitten a few bear spirits roared angrily. Demonic clouds formed under its feet and it chased after Qin Qingyu. Also, from the white lion's mouth, rays of light like flying swords flew out and stabbed towards Qin Qingyu. Qin Xiaoyao. Qin Qingyu ignored White Lion and roared. He opened his mouth and a fist-sized stone rushed out. As soon as the stone appeared, it flashed with a green light and suddenly grew bigger. It smashed towards the beasts in front of Qin Qingyu's head that were blocking in the air. Protect the princess. At this time, Granny Ji, Yuanya, who was on the left of the Chongling princess, and the dozen or so female generals on Pegasi moved. They each waved their weapons and urged their Pegasi to fly towards the White Lion, preparing to block the White Lion's attack for Qin Qingyu. As to Qin Xiaoyao, how could he not know Qin Qingyu's intentions? With an order, he led the Dao soldiers and several disciples to charge in Qin Qingyu's direction. Puff! Yuan Ya's demonic staff was the first to succeed, shattering a flying sword-like light. However, his own body also lost balance and fell along with the leopard under his feet. Then, bang bang bang. There was a series of chaotic sounds. Granny Ji and the others first knocked down the White Lion's attack, and many magic weapons also forced the White Lion. The White Lion had no choice but to temporarily abandon Qin Qingyu. Under its 4 hooves, the demonic clouds moved and it dodged to the side. Immediately after, there was a series of screams. Qin Xiaoyao led the Dao soldiers to kill a few ferocious birds and rushed behind Qin Qingyu. Boom boom boom. There were a few muffled sounds. Is this the legendary shamelessness? Qin Qingyu, what do you mean? Jiang Yuming frowned and asked curiously. You want to use the Chongling princess to threaten this old man? Senior Jiang, this Qin does not dare to say any threats. Qin Qingyu seemed to have a card up his sleeve. The Chongling princess is the bait to kill Xiaohua, and also the last royal family of Jiang country. Her importance must be self-evident. If this Qin tightens his grip and the Chongling princess loses her life, won't your calculations all be in vain? Senior Jiang, this Qin is just an itinerant cultivator of the Dao sect. As long as this Qin goes out, I will immediately give the Chongling princess to Senior. You can do whatever you want with her. Huh? Jiang Yuming laughed and waved his hand. Qin Qingyu, the one who is in vain is you. This Chongling princess is someone the monarch wants to kill. If you kill her, this old man and the others don't have to dirty our hands. Also, you killed the Chongling princess. Since Xiaohua is not at Blackwind Ridge, he naturally does not know. He still has to return to Blackwind Ridge. The Chongling princess is bait. It has nothing to do with the Chongling princess' life or death. Chapter 3507. Good. Qin Qingyu sneered. He reached out and grabbed the Chongling princess' neck. He shouted, "Since you say so, this Qin will crush Chongling to death." Whatever. Jiang Yuming was a man of few words. He waved his hand and retreated dozens of feet as though he was afraid the Chongling princess' blood would splash on him. A vicious light flashed through Qin Qingyu's eyes. He said with a smile, "Who are you bluffing? You think this Qin does not dare?" As he spoke, his hand tightened. The Chongling princess, who had been silent all this time and seemed to have lost her heart, suddenly turned green. "If you dare." With an angry roar, Yuanya, who had been accumulating his power for a long time, hurriedly urged the leopard to rush up from below without any concern for his own safety. The white lion roared, causing the space around Yuanya and the leopard to rapidly tremble. The leopard was so scared that it pissed its pants and hurriedly flew down. Yuanya anxiously cried out on the leopard, but even if he was angry, what could he do? His cultivation was simply too far away from that of these monsters. Granny Ji and the others were also ashen-faced. They had pinned all their hopes on Qin Qingyu and helped him to defend against the enemy. They had never expected that in the end, Qin Qingyu would betray them and turn his back on them. Looking around Qin Qingyu, no, in the entire Black Wind Ridge, other than the enemy, there was no one else who could subdue Qin Qingyu. Was the Chongling princess going to be crushed to death by Qin Qingyu? Old Master Xiao. The people of Jiang country had never yearned for Xiao Hua's appearance more than now. Maybe only Xiao Hua could resolve the present deadlock. Whoosh! Just as everyone's hearts turned to ash, an inexplicable ripple came from Qin Qingyu's arm. A flame appeared strangely. Who? Qin Qingyu was shocked, his heart contracting. He immediately thought of a possibility. Other than Xiao Hua, whom he had never met, who could appear strangely at such a dangerous time? Understanding, Qin Qingyu's hand loosened. No matter how bold he was, he did not dare to crush the Chongling princess to death in front of Xiao Hua, who had not appeared. Rumble! Just as Qin Qingyu loosened his grip, a fireball appeared. Then, the surrounding heaven-earth essence qi suddenly gathered. Moreover, as the heaven-earth essence qi swarmed, several flames appeared not far in front of Jiang Yuming, White Lion, Golden Condor, and the other demons of Emoyun Ridge and Lion Mountain. Qin Qingyu was very close to the fireball. The fireball violently exploded. In the light, Qin Qingyu screamed. Golden light flashed around him. His right arm holding the Chongling princess dimmed and blood flew. Qin Qingyu's right arm was blown off by the fireball. As Qin Qingyu's arm was blown off, ripples of water-blue light appeared in the light of the fireball. A thin old man in Taoist robes and a circular talisman appeared. The water-blue light came from the talisman. However, this light was quickly extinguished in the light of the fireball. The explosion of the fireball charged past the talisman and blasted the old man's back into a bloody mess. The old man's body was pushed by the force of the fireball towards the Chongling princess like a falling leaf. The Chongling princess had lost her will to live under this unpredictable person's heart. But the next change happened in a flash. Before she could think, the old man spread his arms and used his body to protect her. Looking at the face that was coming closer, the familiar wrinkles, the dry lips, and the two white mustaches, wasn't this Xiao Jian? However, at this moment, Xiao Jian's originally turbid eyes were filled with concern and determination. Xiao Jian's decisiveness turned into gratification, but this gratification disappeared as he closed his eyes. Xiao Jian, fellow immortal Xiao. The Chongling princess was puzzled but did not dare to be negligent. She hurriedly reached out and pulled the unconscious Xiao Jian into her arms. But the fireball was really powerful. Xiao Jian blocked the heat wave that was charging at the Chongling princess, but the power was still there. The Chongling princess could not resist at all. Under the enormous force, she floated down. Looking around, countless scorching waves of fire were rolling. Not only did the demons of Emoyun Ridge and Lion Rock retreat in fear, even someone as strong as Jiang Yuming did not dare to be negligent. He leaped high into the air. The moment the fireball appeared, Jiang Yuming was shocked. He thought that Xiaohua had appeared, but when he saw Xiao Jian's figure in the fire, he was reassured. Xiao Jian must have used an invisibility seal to prepare to escape, but he had not expected Qin Qingyu to hold the Chongling princess hostage. So Xiao Jian had to give up on escaping and use the fireball seal to save the Chongling princess. However, Jiang Yuming did not understand. Since Xiao Jian had an invisibility seal, why did Qin Qingyu not? Since Qin Qingyu knew Xiao Jian had an invisibility seal, why did he not guard against Xiao Jian? Especially, why was this fireball seal so powerful? Of course, these questions were nothing in Jiang Yuming's mind. Both Xiao Jian and Qin Qingyu were not worth mentioning in Jiang Yuming's eyes. No matter what they did, as long as they did not escape Black Wind Ridge, they could do whatever they wanted. Therefore, when he saw the Chongling princess land with Xiao Jian and meet up with Granny Ji and the others, Yuanya punched the leopard and did his best to get close to the Chongling princess. The golden condor and white lion were forced into a sorry state by the fireballs. He smiled faintly. Then, the physical energy in his body moved. He opened his mouth and recited the 100 classics. Waves of vast energy roared and fell from the sky. In a moment, it extinguished all the flames within 100 zhang of him. After the flames disappeared, Qin Qingyu's slightly stooped figure appeared. At this time, Qin Qingyu had used the previous chaos to fly dozens of feet, wanting to escape Jiang Yuming's encirclement. Seeing his tracks exposed, Qin Qingyu's unusually pale face showed a hint of embarrassment. Elder Jiang. Qin Qingyu thought for a moment and said, "You also saw that this Qin was forced to do something beyond my ability. They do not trust me at all. The matter of Black Wind Ridge has nothing to do with this Qin." A hint of mockery flashed through Jiang Yuming's eyes. He looked up and down at Qin Qingyu's disheveled appearance. In order to escape, he did not even have time to clean up the blood on his body. Then he said coolly, "Qin Qingyu, this path is blocked. You should turn back." "Elder," Qin Qingyu pleaded. "This Qin swears that from now on, I will not ask about the matters of the Dao sect. I will only focus on cultivation. Jiang country, no, the Dao sect of the hidden immortal continent has nothing to do with this Qin. Go back." Jiang Yuming waved his hand. A wave of vast energy passed. Qin Qingyu saw that he could not block it and could only fly back. Fortunately, Jiang Yuming did not mean to make things difficult for Qin Qingyu. This wave of vast energy only brushed past Qin Qingyu's head. The golden eagle was obviously very angry that Qin Qingyu could escape from its encirclement. When it saw Qin Qingyu flying down, it spread its wings. The golden feathers that were messed up by the fireball talisman flashed and rushed towards Qin Qingyu. "Let him go back." Jiang Yuming waved his hand. A wave of vast energy condensed into an invisible wall of qi in front of the golden eagle. The golden eagle was caught off guard and was actually knocked down in midair. The golden eagle made a clear ji sound. It seemed very angry and said angrily, "Jiang Yuming, what right do you?" Boom! A wave of vast energy came. The golden eagle was hit and kept rolling in the air. Only a few feathers were still floating in the air. Jiang Yuming's figure slowly disappeared. His cold voice stayed in the same place. "You are just a flat bird. Don't forget your identity. If you were not still useful, this old man would kill you on the spot." The golden eagle was knocked down and blood flowed out of its beak. White Lion and the others did not dare to be negligent. Although they did not dare to retreat from here, they were already far away and surrounded the people of Black Wind Ridge. Standing in midair, Qin Qingyu was in an awkward situation. Earlier, his order to Qin Xiaoyao was rejected, and Qin Xiaoyao stepped back for tens of feet. There were nearly 100 people who moved with Qin Xiaoyao. These disciples and Dao soldiers were far away from Qin Jian's fire talisman, so they weren't affected too much. But the disciples who stayed behind to listen to Qin Qingyu were slightly troublesome. In the explosion of the fire talisman, a dozen of them were injured. Right now, they were as bad as Qin Qingyu. Although they had rested for a while and were standing in the air, they probably couldn't stay together with the people of Black Wind Ridge. Qin Qingyu's gaze swept across the formation of the golden eagle, white lion, and the others. Then he looked at Granny Ji and the others who were protecting the Chongling princess and retreating. His face was ferocious. But he clapped his hand and put several pills into his mouth. His face immediately flushed red. He sneered and said, "You Confucian cultivators have a good plan. You want to watch the show from the side? Good, this old man will let you watch. This old man will turn Black Wind Ridge into a sea of blood. Let's see what good show you can watch." As he spoke, he raised his hand and shouted, "Disciples, Dao soldiers, follow this old man, kill. Sect uncle, sect uncle." Seeing Qin Xingyu go crazy, Qin Xiaoyao was shocked. At this time in Black Wind Ridge, Qin Xingyu was the strongest. Who could be his match? Even if there were hundreds and thousands of demons, in the eyes of an early Jindan cultivator, they were not even a dish. Qin Xiaoyao shouted and wanted to persuade Qin Xingyu. Unfortunately, Qin Xingyu didn't give Qin Xiaoyao a chance to speak at all. He made a spell with both hands, and within a few feet of Qin Xiaoyao, a silvery white brilliance shone brightly. Streaks of light like spears appeared and pierced towards Qin Xiaoyao. It was Qin Xingyu's best technique, the golden spear technique. Qin Xiaoyao's expression changed greatly. He did not expect Qin Xingyu to change his face faster than flipping a book. He was the first to attack a junior disciple. He quickly rubbed his hands and opened his mouth. A fire bead the size of a thumb shot out. Chapter 3508. The fire bead immediately turned into a crimson wall of fire to protect Qin Xiaoyao. But before the wall of fire formed, hundreds of silver-white spears were thrown over like hundreds of giants. The sound of them breaking through the air was ear-piercing. Qin Xiaoyao was not strong to begin with. He could not even block Tong Zhuoguo's killing immortal crossbow, much less the spears of these Jindan cultivators. Pew pew! Dozens of spears easily passed through the wall of fire and came close to Qin Xiaoyao. Qin Xiaoyao's face was ashen, but there was no regret in his eyes. Instead, there was a kind of relief. This relief was the relief of being forgiven. While Qin Xiaoyao's gaze was not on the Chongling princess fleeing towards Black Wind Ridge, the princess and even Granny Ji looked at Qin Xiaoyao without the disdain and rejection from before. "Oh!" At this moment, a very surprised voice suddenly sounded. "What's going on?" This voice sounded a little ethereal, but it was also loud and clear. The entire Black Wind Ridge could hear it clearly. Following this voice, thousands of tiny threads of lightning suddenly appeared in the air around Qin Xiaoyao. There were not many threads of lightning, and they did not look strong. But where the threads of lightning passed, the thousands of golden spears were immediately shattered. The threads of lightning wrapped around the silver-white fragments. In a blink, the fragments turned back into pure primal energies of the universe. Xiao. Elder Xiao. Qin Xiaoyao was naturally overjoyed at being reborn. He looked around in disbelief, his voice filled with an indescribable hope. Xiaohua. Qin Xingyu saw his spell easily defeated by the lightning. His expression changed, he was filled with regret and bitterness in his mouth. He really did not understand why his luck was so tragic. What to do? Qin Xingyu's mind spun rapidly. He hurriedly sent out his consciousness towards the source of the voice. But his consciousness was immediately cut off after scanning 100 feet. He could not go very far. "Old Master! This is Old Master! Old Master is back!" Boy! The black bear spirit was the happiest. When he heard Xiaohua's voice, he immediately shouted. The demons of the Black Wind Ridge had no time to watch Qin Xingyu's despicable performance. They were originally in a state of exhaustion and had gradually slipped into a disadvantageous position. However, when they heard the black bear spirits roar, it was more effective than any elixir. The weapons in their hands danced in the air, and their momentum was like a rainbow. Kill. The demons of Black Wind Ridge were like this, and the soldiers of Jianghu country were even more excited. In this period of fighting, they had suffered many losses, and were almost unable to resist the birds flying in the sky. Hearing Xiaohua's voice, they all fought with their lives. Granny Ji and the others were overjoyed. As they protected the Chongling princess, They urged their horses to charge at the demons of Mo Yun Ridge. The most ridiculous thing was still the leopard. Previously, no matter how Yuanya punched and kicked it, it did not dare to fly into the air. At this time, it also let out a long roar and turned into a flying shadow, carrying Yuanya to the beast at the foot of the mountain. However, just as it started to fly, it was punched by Yuanya again. Only then did it turn around and charge at the Changling princess. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao seemed to think of something and hurriedly shouted, "Elder Xiao! The Black Wind Ridge has an ambush from the Copper Pillar State." But his words did not travel far. Boom, boom, boom. Dark clouds covered the Black Wind Ridge, and wild winds blew. Countless bolts of lightning crashed down like a heavenly river. A woo-a-woo. Between the flashes of lightning, the thousands of birds of Mo Yun Ridge that had been arrogant before were struck down by the heavenly lightning. Other than the scattered feathers in the air, there was only the fragrance of roasted birds. The golden eagle was shocked. It had seen powerful cultivators and righteous Confucian cultivators, but it had never seen such a powerful move. There were over 1,000 of them. They were killed by this cultivator called Xiao Hua without even showing his face. What cultivation did this Xiao Hua have? Before the golden condor could escape, another wave of the Taoist spell that it had seen before flashed in midair. Then, it saw layers of flames appearing above the heads of the ferocious beasts on Lion Rock. Then it swooped down. Roar! The ferocious beasts screamed in agony. No one cared about fighting with the Black Wind Ridge demons anymore. They either rolled on the ground to extinguish the flames, or formed demonic clouds under their feet and rushed into the air to escape. Go! Bai Shi had been moved. With a soft roar, the Yao clouds under his feet moved, and he had already charged dozens of feet. Damn it! The golden eagle cursed in its heart. It seemed to be half a beat slower than Bai Shi every time. But fortunately, its flying speed was fast enough. With a flap of its wings, it immediately caught up with Bai Shi. Just as they had fled a few hundred meters away, a thunderous rumble resounded through the sky. A tall and skinny human figure stepped on heavenly lightning and flew over at a speed faster than lightning. His voice that was even louder than thunder rumbled through the Black Wind Ridge. "After causing so much trouble to my Black Wind Ridge, you still want to leave?" Before the voice died away, the golden eagle and Bai Shi's eyes blurred. They did not notice anything at all. The two figures had already landed in the sky above Black Wind Ridge. The golden eagle and Bai Shi looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock. This kind of magical power that could teleport them dozens of feet without them noticing had long exceeded their understanding. Almost at the same time, the two of them knelt in the air and shouted, "Master, please spare us." The two so-called Golden Eagle King and Myriad Lion King did not resist at all and just knelt down. The demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock were even worse. They had long been scared witless by the heavenly lightning and the burning of their bodies. Now, they no longer dared to care about their injuries. They all knelt on the ground and shouted, "Master, please spare us." The black bear spirit snorted and said angrily, "Is Master's name something you can easily call out?" His words were filled with pride and arrogance. In a moment, the thin figure in the sky had already flown to the sky above the Black Wind mountain range. After the lightning dissipated, his true appearance was revealed. Xiao Hua's appearance was a few years older, but he looked more mature, and the majesty between his brows was even more prominent. Anyone who looked at him would feel a sense of fear, and a kind of reverence would spontaneously arise. "Master, you have returned." The black bear spirit was carefree and showed off in front of people. He flew to Xiao Hua's right hand and bowed proudly. Xiao Hua nodded slightly and said, This old man has returned. Black bear, you have worked hard." Seeing Xiao Hua give him face, the black bear spirit was even happier. He did not dare to rise and said, "This one is unworthy," and did not gain face for Master. "In the end, I still have to rely on Master's methods." Xiao Hua responded and looked away. The people of Jianghu country escorted the Changling princess and flew to Xiao Hua's hand. They all bowed respectfully and said, Welcome master back to the mountain. You have worked hard. What is going on with Xiao Jian? Xiao Hua frowned slightly. His Buddhist consciousness had come too late and did not see the situation. The Changling princess looked worriedly at Xiao Jian, who was still unconscious and covered in blood. She recounted what had happened previously. Sigh. When Xiao Hua heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. His heart was also filled with lingering fear. If Qin Qingyu really succeeded, not to mention that Jianghu would no longer exist, even his own face would be lost. Wouldn't everything he said earlier be for naught? Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed slightly. He swept a glance at Qin Qingyu and the hundreds of Dao soldiers and disciples around him, and then looked at Qin Xiaoyao. At this time, Qin Xiaoyao flew over with hundreds of disciples and Dao soldiers. Seeing Xiao Hua look at him, he hurriedly bowed and said, "Disciple Qin Xiaoyao greets. Master. Disciple thanks Master for saving my life." Was what Changling said true? Xiao Hua's expression did not change as he asked coolly. Qin Xiaoyao did not dare to speak and hurriedly answered, "What Her Highness the Princess said is true." "Then, how do you think Qin Qingyu should be dealt with?" Xiao Hua asked directly. "This." Qin Xiaoyao stilled. He was tongue-tied and did not dare to speak. Xiao Hua saw Qin Xiaoyao hesitate and immediately moved him to the side. He raised his hand and took out a jade bottle. He gave it to Yuanya and said, "Yuanya, feed this pill medicine to your master." "Yes, master." Yuanya saw Xiao Hua was awe-inspiring and was no longer the Xiao Hua who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him on the streets of Longevity Town. He took the jade bottle and hurriedly answered. After Xiao Jian had fainted, he had been watched over by the female generals of Jianghu country. Only now did he dare to give it to Yuanya. Seeing Xiao Jian take the pill medicine, Xiao Hua smiled and pointed. When did Xiao Jian's abilities improve greatly? He can predict the future? First, he stole this seat's invisibility talisman and fire talisman from Louis. He, master, this little one knows. The black bear spirit at the side hurriedly said with a smile, "This is not Xiao Jian's ability, but Lu Ge's arrangement." Louis? Xiao Hua was startled. He raised his head to look at the mountain ridge, where Lu Yi was already kneeling on the ground, as if he was welcoming him. "Master." At this time, Qin Xiaoyao spoke up. "Yulman, didn't you hear your disciple's voice? Outside the Black Wind Ridge, there is a great formation set up by Confucian cultivators. We are bait, and our lives are as light as grass. How can you take the risk?" "Heh." Xiao Hua sneered, disdain appearing on the corner of his mouth. He raised his head to look at the sky, where a faint five-colored brilliance was flowing, and said, "Let me tell you, on this Black Wind Ridge, every person, every demon's life is not light. Even if I know that this is bait, that there is a trap here, I will still come." "Thank you, master." Everyone knelt down, their hearts filled with an indescribable warmth. "Besides, it's just a child's play. How can it do anything to me?" Xiao Hua laughed again. He raised his hand and everyone stood up. "We will only chat here. We will talk after they set up the formation." Chapter 3509. Yes, we will rely on Old Master for everything. Everyone saw Xiao Hua so calm and felt even more confident. Xiao Hua beckoned with his hand. Lu Yi, kneeling on the ground, flew in front of Xiao Hua. Lu Yi did not dare to get up and kowtowed. "Disciple Lu Yi greets Old Master." Disciple did not manage the residence well and caused such trouble. "Old Master will punish me." "Ha, no need to be so careful," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "You did well. This seat will give you a surprise later. However, tell this old man, how did you know Qin Qingyu would kidnap the Changling princess?" Lu Yi's face was bashful as he said in a low voice, "Allow this little one to report this matter to Old Master alone in the future." "Good." Xiao Hua smiled and then looked up. He took out a bottle of pills and flew it in front of Lu Yi. "Get up. You did well. Today you did the best. This pill is for you. When you learn the method in the future, you can take it." Lu Yi was so clever. Hearing Xiao Hua say, "When you learn the method in the future," How could he not know that Xiaohua had found a method for him to cultivate? Excitement appeared on his face. He carefully took the jade bottle and hid it on his body before bowing again. Qin Xiaoyao? Xiaohua suddenly asked, "Do you mind the question this seat asked you just now?" Seeing Xiaohua act so swiftly and decisively, his train of thought also jumping around, Qin Xiaoyao clenched his teeth and knelt down in midair, saying, "Master, disciple knows that martial Uncle Qin committed an unpardonable crime, but disciple also committed a serious crime that day. Since old master can pardon this disciple, why can't you forgive Qin Shishu? He was just muddle-headed under the attack of the enemy and made the wrong choice. Now that our Dao sect is in decline, one person killed is one less. This disciple asks old master to be magnanimous and allow Qin Shishu to redeem himself." "Old master, you cannot." Granny Ji had not known Xiaohua for long, but she was familiar with Xiaohua's soft-hearted nature. She hurriedly shouted that Qin Qingyu was the strongest cultivator of Black Wind Ridge at the time. He wanted to kidnap Her Highness the Princess and use her safety to exchange for his life. He even wanted to kill Her Highness the Princess when the enemy could not tolerate it. In addition, he didn't care about fellow disciples at all. As soon as he had time, he immediately attacked his own martial nephew. If it weren't for the return of the master, fellow Taoist Qin would have already died. How could someone who was worse than a beast be a disciple of the Dao sect? Leaving him alive is a disgrace to the Dao sect and a thorn in the flesh of my Black Wind Ridge. If master is unable to distinguish between rewards and punishments, I'm afraid it won't be fair in the future. Master, please make a decision." "Master!" When Qin Qingyu heard this from afar, he hurriedly knelt down in the air and cried out, "Please spare my life, master. I will follow your orders for the rest of my life and will never have any other thoughts." "Old master?" Granny Ji wanted to say something, but when she saw Xiaohua frown slightly, the Changling princess hurriedly scolded, "Granny, just say this. Everything will be decided by master." "But..." Granny Ji wanted to say something but stopped. She bit her lip and lowered her head. The black bear spirit was next to Lu Yi at this time. He raised his foot and kicked Lu Yi, indicating for Lu Yi to speak. But Lu Yi didn't seem to notice and stood there silently. The other people of Black Wind Ridge knew their status was low and didn't dare to speak. On the mountain ridge, the bear spirits of Black Wind Ridge looked at the spirits on the ground that had been killed by the heavenly lightning and fire. They swallowed and didn't dare to move, waiting for Xiaohua's decision. "Qin Qingyu, don't think about getting lucky," Xiaohua said coolly. "You are a disciple of the Dao sect, but you don't deserve to be a human. Since you don't deserve to be a human, what are you living for? Since you are a disciple of the Dao sect, you can kill yourself." Wu. Xiaohua had just finished speaking when he saw Qin Qingyu's body flashing with an intense golden light. Streams of Zhenqi were like small snakes coming out from his mouth and nose. Qin Qingyu's body flashed and flew towards the distance. As Qin Qingyu flew, the brilliance around his body became even brighter, just like an extremely sharp flying sword. "Do you want to escape?" Xiaohua smiled faintly. "Even if you have 10 more gold cores, you can burn them all and turn them into swords. How can you escape from my hands?" While speaking, Xiaohua waved his right hand, and a huge palm appeared in midair. It was several times faster than Qin Qingyu's, and in a moment, it grabbed Qin Qingyu. No matter how Qin Qingyu struggled, he couldn't break free. "Even if I don't do it, do you think you can escape from the formation of the Confucian cultivators?" Xiaohua looked at Qin Qingyu and said word by word, "In front of you, there is only a dead end. However, instead of letting the Confucian cultivators kill you, let me send you on your way. I have a merciful heart, but that doesn't mean I won't kill. Because you deserve to die, I don't mind staining my hands with blood." After he finished speaking, the big hand moved slightly. Qin Qingyu struggled with all his strength, as if he was going to explode his gold core. However, under the power of the big hand, his true qi could not flow at all. Under the huge force, blood splattered and Qin Qingyu was crushed to death. Immediately after, Xiaohua retracted his technique and Qin Qingyu's corpse fell from the sky. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Hua said indifferently, "You reap what you sow, you reap what you sow. Everyone has their own karma. Don't think too much about others." Yes, disciple understands. Qin Xiaoyao knew that this was for him and hurriedly bowed. The other Taoist disciples didn't do evil. "Please spare my life, Master." "Well, they are all your disciples. You can decide for yourself." Xiao Hua waved his hand. The hundreds of frightened disciples and Taoist soldiers were overjoyed and hurriedly bowed down to thank him. The internal affairs of the Black Wind Ridge have been dealt with. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the sky. The five-colored brilliance had turned into five-colored auspicious clouds and was still dancing in the air. There were no signs of it descending. He said, "Since the formation masters haven't finished their work, let's look at other things." "Master, spare my life, spare my life." The golden eagle and white lion had been waiting by the side. Hearing Xiao Hua's words, they hurriedly begged for mercy. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, "Strange. You led a group of subordinates to invade my Black Wind Ridge and kill my disciples. Why should I spare you?" "Master," the golden eagle said pitifully, "although we are called Golden Eagle King and Thousand Lion King, we are actually the same as the Black Wind King. We are all pitiful characters. Others don't know how hard we worked, but how can the Black Bear spirit not know? At first, we thought that we were the kings of the Black Cloud Ridge and were very proud of ourselves. But when Master came, so many things happened. Only then did we realize that we were just the pretense of others and were used by others. You can ask the Black Bear spirit. We have coexisted peacefully for so many years. Who bullied him? If we weren't forced by others this time, why would we invade the Black Wind Ridge?" Also, the white lion hurriedly shouted from the side, "We surrounded the Black Wind Ridge for so long and didn't attack heavily. In fact, we didn't injure many of the Black Wind Ridge's subordinates. We don't deserve to die." Hearing the words, "don't deserve to die," coming from the mouth of the Thousand Lion King, everyone couldn't help but laugh. This really sounded ridiculous. However, the Black Bear spirit's eyes darted around. His gaze swept across the Black Wind Ridge. When he saw that most of the beasts of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock were injured and not many were killed, he immediately understood that Xiao Hua didn't have the intention to eliminate them. Then he thought about what Xiao Hua said and came up with a plan. He casually took half a step forward and bowed, "Master, this little one has a few words, but I don't know if I should say them." Feel free to speak," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Master." The Black Bear spirit pointed at the two demons and said, "This little one is the same as the two demon kings. We both occupy mountains and call ourselves kings. No one understands their hardships better than this little one. We don't have a choice. Actually, I won't hide it from Master. If Master forced this little one to attack Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock, even if this little one didn't want to go, under Master's strict orders, this little one wouldn't dare to disobey." When did this lord do such a thing?" Xiao Hua laughed and scolded. Seeing Xiao Hua laugh, the Black Bear spirit understood even more. He said, "There's no need to say that the two demon kings don't deserve to die. After all, we are all demons and have killed countless people. However, Master, now is the time to use people. The two demon kings are useless, but they have thousands of subordinates. This little one is afraid that I can't take care of all of them. Why don't you spare their lives and help me restrain my subordinates? This way, won't the entire Black Cloud Ridge belong to Master?" Yes, this little one will definitely listen to the Black Wind King's orders and guard the Black Cloud Ridge for Master." Hearing the Black Bear spirit's words, the Golden Eagle and White Lion understood that he was taking advantage of the situation. However, they didn't dare to disobey. They hurriedly kowtowed and said, "But Master, please spare our lives." Yes, the Black Bear spirit's words make sense. Xiao Hua nodded to himself. Then he stretched out his hand and a dark green light flashed between his eyebrows. The Golden Eagle and White Lion felt an indescribable pain in their heads. The two demons couldn't help but roll in the air in pain. "Rise." As Xiao Hua raised his hand, two faint shadows appeared between the eyebrows of the two demons. Xiao Hua then grabbed with his hand and the two shadows instantly shrunk to the size of a mung bean. Immediately after, two pieces of jade floated in the air. Xiao Hua flicked his two hands and rays of light appeared from the jade pieces. They were so bright that it caused everyone to squint their eyes. Puff puff. Suddenly, the two pieces of jade shined brightly and lit up at the same time. A moment later, the two pieces of jade melted into two balls of liquid. This liquid was no longer just jade, it was mixed with a trace of scarlet. Xiao Hua suddenly raised his head and pointed his finger. The black bear spirit, who was watching the show with narrowed eyes, felt pain between his eyebrows. Before he could cry out in pain, 2 drops of blood had been flicked by Xiao Hua and landed in the jade liquid. Sizzle! With a series of sounds, the jade liquid glowed with a green light. Chapter 35:10. Go, Xiao Hua lightly reprimanded and raised his hand. 2 green bean-sized shadows were thrown into the jade liquid. Then, Xiao Hua sent in a few more spells. Kacha, kacha, 2 crisp sounds were heard. The jade liquid condensed into 2 jade tablets. Master! The black bear spirit cried bitterly. It's fine if you think these 2 deserve to die, but why are you so happy with my blood? Humph, what do you know? Xiao Hua snorted and waved his hand. Take this jade tablet. Seeing the 2 jade pendants in his hands, the black bear spirit raised the jade pendants and looked at the vague shadows of the golden eagle and white lion. He was puzzled and asked curiously, Master, what am I doing with this? These 2 demons were spared because you begged for mercy. I'll leave their lives to you. If they don't listen, you can crush the jade tablet at any time. Xiao Hua said coldly. Of course, if anything happens to them, I'll hold you responsible. There's no need, Master. The black bear spirit's expression became even more bitter. He said pitifully, this thing is so precious. If I accidentally break it, won't I take their lives? You should keep it. Black bear. Xiao Jian, who had already woken up, reminded him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Old Master thinks highly of you. Will hold the jade pendant and deliberately think that the 2 demons will have to do whatever you want them to do. Ah? Is that so? The black bear spirit was overjoyed and hurriedly shouted, Golden Eagle, roll for me. The golden eagle was no longer in pain. Just now it was standing in midair. When it heard the black bear spirit's words, it hesitated. But then the pain came again. The golden eagle's face turned pale. It moved and its body trembled. It gritted its teeth and said, Black Wind King, you and I are both demon kings. In the future, White Lion and I will help you. If you treat us like this, we'd rather die. The black bear spirit's small eyes turned. Seeing the golden eagle's painful expression, he knew that Xiao Jian was right. He immediately put away the jade tablet and smiled. Brothers, it's all my fault. I just wanted to see the effects of this jade tablet. I won't try it again in the future. Brothers, as long as you treat Master like I do, this jade tablet will be as good as nothing. Big brother is wrong. Golden Condor looked at White Lion and hurriedly cupped his hands. Among the 3 heads of Black Cloud Ridge, the Black Wind King is the leader, I'm third, and White Lion is second. If the 3 of us work together, we will definitely be able to protect the Black Cloud Ridge. White Lion smiled and also bowed, saying, Third brother is right. Although Big Brother's cultivation is low now, with Master's help, it won't be long before he becomes our leader. I'm sorry. The black bear spirit's mouth was wide open. The corners of his mouth were all the way to the back of his head. He cupped his fists in return. Go and pack up. From today onwards, Black Cloud Ridge will belong to you 3 brothers. Xiao Hua waved his hand. I can guarantee that as long as all of you are obedient, not to mention Black Cloud Ridge, even the entire hidden Immortal continent will become famous. Yes, we understand. The 3 demon kings were overjoyed. After hastily bowing, they descended from the clouds and reorganized their subordinates. Xiao Jian had already recovered from his injuries after receiving Xiao Hua's elixir. He walked forward and bowed. Disciple thanks Master for saving my life. Xiao Hua sized up Xiao Jian. He was actually rather puzzled. Xiao Jian had always been very selfish. Why would he take the risk because of Lu Yi's words? However, after thinking about it, in the entire Black Wind Ridge, other than Xiao Jian, Lu Yi couldn't find a reliable Taoist cultivator who could use invisibility talismans and fire talismans. Fortunately, Xiao Jian didn't let Lu Yi down. Xiao Jian could be considered to have made a great contribution. You did well. Xiao Jian, I have a whole new level of respect for you. Xiao Hua nodded. In the future, if you encounter any difficulties in your cultivation, you can come find me. If there are no accidents, getting a golden core or nascent soul cultivator isn't a big deal. Xiao Jian didn't have any excitement on his face. He seemed to believe Xiao Hua's words without any doubt. He bowed and said, "Disciple thanks Master for taking care of me. What's the progress of your plan to restore the Black Cloud Ridge?" Xiao Hua stood in the air and didn't return to his residence. He actually treated the swaying clouds in the air like they were nothing and asked. Xiao Jian looked at the Chongling princess. The two nodded slightly. Xiao Jian spoke again. Disciple and the others are almost done with their plans. Only Master is left to come back and take charge. Someone like Qin Qingyu? Xiao Hua asked with interest. This is all Disciple's fault. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly said from the side. In order to increase the power of Black Wind Ridge, Disciple could only invite Disciple's sect uncle to come and hold the fort. But I didn't expect. None of you are wrong, it's this seat's fault. Xiao Hua nodded. He liked Qin Xiaoyao's responsibility even more. This seat had some important matters and couldn't come back in time. That's right, go and look for that second imperial tutor. What's his name again? If you find out whether he's dead or alive, I'll go and look for him. If I'm not around in the future, at least there'll be someone to support you. The second imperial preceptor of Jiang country is Li Xiang, Li Zhenren. Qin Xiaoyao hurriedly answered. This disciple heard that he was captured by the Copper Pillar country. The Chongling princess explained from the side. To let Master know, Li Zhenren listens to the imperial preceptor, but is unfamiliar with the imperial family of Jiang country. This junior doesn't know much about this elder. All right, return to the residence. If you need to discuss, discuss. If you need to act, act. Xiao Hua waved his hand. Everyone bowed and saluted. Only Lu Yi was left in the air. He could not fly and waited by Xiao Hua's side. Halu. Xiao Hua waved his hand and used a silent spell. He said, now you can speak. How did you know that Qin Qingyu was going to act against the Chongling princess? Did you personally give Xiao Jian's invisibility seal and fire seal to him? Facing Xiao Hua, Lu Yi naturally didn't dare to conceal anything. He explained the cause of the matter in detail, causing Xiao Hua to be somewhat dumbstruck. It was very simple because Lu Yi could feel what others were thinking. When Qin Qingyu was discussing with everyone in the residence, Lu Yi had sensed his desire for the Chongling princess from Qin Qingyu's heart. But he was not sure and did not dare to expose it. He could only take the chance to leave the residence and call out the Black Bear Spirit. Lu Yi naturally would not tell the Black Bear Spirit the truth. He only said what would happen if Qin Qingyu, the cultivator with the highest cultivation, had no one to restrict him. Of course, the Black Bear Spirit had no other choice. He could only blink his eyes helplessly. However, when Lu Yi took out the invisibility talisman and fire talisman left behind by Xiao Hua, the Black Bear Spirit came up with an idea. He was a demon and did not cultivate any Dao techniques. Of course, he could not use them. Lu Yi was not at ease with Xiao Jian. He feared Xiao Jian would take the chance to run. Otherwise, he would have taken out these things long ago. But here, for the safety of the Chongling princess, Lu Yi could only gamble. Coincidentally, Xiao Jian came to find Lu Yi. Lu Yi took the chance to speak of his worries. Xiao Jian did not take it seriously and agreed. After Qin Qingyu landed on the horse of the Jiang soldiers, he activated the invisibility seal under Lu Yi's urging and hid near the Chongling princess. The development of the matter was as Lu Yi had expected. If Xiao Jian had not stopped her, the Chongling princess would have died. Xiao Hua listened to Lu Yi and nodded slightly. Yes, this is your talent. You do not need to tell others. This old man will keep the secret for you. Cultivate the Tao art first, and when the time is ripe, I'll pass down another Buddhist sect divine ability to you. It's called the heart connection, and I presume it'll bring back your extraordinary talent to the extreme. Many thanks, old master. Lu Yi was overjoyed. Then, can you sense what this old man is thinking? Xiaohua suddenly asked. Old master is thinking too much. Lu Yi said with a smile. When this little one saw old master that day, I was seriously injured and could not sense what old master was thinking. When this little one got the river tide temple, this little one tried and could only sense that old master was a good person and would not harm this little one and little Yun. But this little one does not know what old master is thinking. Also, to tell old master the truth, this perception is not accurate. Also, sensing danger is more useful than other senses. When this little one was young, this little one relied on this to avoid many dangers. And this old man knows? Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the dark clouds in the sky and sneered. Damn it, this old man has waited for so long. Why is it not set up yet? Relying on this, you dare to fight this old man? If this old man did not want to use you to establish power, you would not have the time to set up the formation. Old master, do not be careless. Lu Yi reminded. The Confucian cultivators did not set up this formation in a day or two. Now that old master has returned, they have not moved. They must be planning to hit with one blow. It is more than one blow. They are going to wipe us all out. Xiaohua sneered. They even want to kill the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Rock. In a while, you will pass down this old man's order and let all the demons enter the formation. Ah! Lu Yi turned pale with fright. He did not have time to agree and hurriedly shouted. Old master, you must be careful. No matter, this is a good opportunity to cleanse the Black Cloud Ridge with this formation. This will save this old man the trouble. Xiaohua waved his hand and smiled. Oh, by the way, come with this old man. This old man found you a junior brother. You can teach him some language of the hidden immortal continent. Junior brother? Lu Yi beamed with joy. Old master just happens to be lacking a boy. Now, one on the left and one on the right is just right. I still lack a girl. Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said snappily. Why don't you find little Yun and make her a jade girl? Lu Yi's brows slightly darkened. However, he smiled and said, if old master is like this little one will thank old master even more. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and flicked Lu Yi's head with his finger. He scolded with a smile, wishful thinking. You should just obediently be a boy. Lu Yi stuck out his tongue, a naughty look on his face. Chapter 35:11. Immediately, Xiaohua flicked his sleeves and brought Lu Yi into the cave like a breeze. Above the clouds, Jiang Yuming and a dozen white-haired old Confucians were standing in midair. In front of them was an oval mirror, which allowed them to clearly see the situation of Xiaohua and the others. Seeing Xiaohua so calm and unhurried, everyone was so angry that they almost vomited blood. Especially the few old Confucians, their hands were trembling. One of them even cried out, Yuming, how can you be so patient? This little bastard clearly knows that the great formation has been completed, yet he still arrogantly handles the affairs here. This is clearly a provocation. Quickly, activate the great formation. Let's see if our noble Qi will not turn him into mincemeat. Jiang Yuming's face was obviously not good. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, Senior brothers, granduncles, don't be anxious. This Xiaohua's methods are really amazing. Didn't you see? He waved his hand and we couldn't see anything. His magic power is clearly higher than mine. That soul-sucking technique is clearly something a fourth-grade cultivator can do. Moreover, the lightning drawing technique and the lightning escape technique are both things that ordinary Taoist cultivators can't do. If my Jiang clan becomes his enemy, there is absolutely a possibility that both sides will suffer. Now, the Copper Pillar country's monarch has spent a lot of effort to invite 4 great scholars to come and set up the 5 brocade cloud diagram with my Jiang clan. This is clearly a country's strength to resist Xiaohua. My Jiang clan only needs to follow the 5 brocade cloud diagram and activate the noble qi. That Xiaohua is definitely not the opponent of the cloud diagram. Why should my Jiang clan stand out alone? This is the 5 brocade cloud diagram? Is this the formation passed down by the Immortal Palace? An old scholar was shocked. Monarch, when did you have such a powerful formation? Jiang Yuming's face was filled with pride. He said with a smile, how could this junior dare to deceive granduncles? I didn't say it before because the Copper Pillar country's monarch gave strict orders. He was afraid that the news would leak and Xiaohua wouldn't dare to enter the trap. The Copper Pillar country's monarch actually obtained the Immortal Palace's formation? Another old scholar was shocked and asked the same question. Then he thought of something and said in a low voice, it seems that the monarch didn't go to war on a whim. With this formation map, what worries do we have in the world? Our Bronze Pillar country will definitely become famous in the hidden Immortal continent and become the #1 empire in the hidden Immortal continent. The old scholar from before was very impassioned as he shouted. Jiang Yuming smiled and explained, this is the secret formation of the Immortal Palace. It contains the secrets of the 5 Qis unification. I heard that anyone who can comprehend one of the cloud brocade will be able to ascend. This time, my Jiang clan will participate in the extermination of the Dao sect's remnants. After we succeed, we will obtain 5 chances to comprehend the secret array. Senior brothers and granduncles, please don't slack off. Hi Yuming, don't worry. You're just a Taoist brat at the 4th level of First Elemental Force. Although you're abnormally arrogant, I'm afraid that you're just putting up a strong front. If you want to give us an empty fort strategy, who wouldn't be able to see through it? An old Confucian scholar laughed and said, the monarch has set up such a large array to scare the monkey by killing the chicken, to let the other countries of the hidden Immortal continent see the excitement, to let them see the methods and determination of our Bronze Pillar state. You tell me, how can we not join in the fun? We cannot make assumptions about the king's heart. In his hand was something like a jade tablet. He was very calmly looking at the depths of the sea of clouds. Next to him stood another person. This person had extremely short hair and a handsome face. It was the Bronze Pillar Academy's judge, Do Shanjun, whom Xiaohua had previously defeated. At this moment, Do Shanjun's face was still cold. His slightly squinted eyes flashed with a trace of clear light. However, after a moment, Do Shanjun frowned and closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened his eyes and revealed a trace of doubt. He looked at the calm old man in front of him and said, Lord Academy Head, there's something this student doesn't understand. And feel free to speak. This Academy Head was the Beigo Jinming that Jiang Yuming had spoken of. Hearing Do Shanjun speak, he looked away and said coolly. Do Shanjun pondered for a moment and said, in my opinion, before this Xiaohua flew down to Blackwind Ridge, he might not have been unaware that there was a grand formation waiting for him here. But why did he still charge in without any hesitation? Even if he charged in, he had enough time to save the Chongling princess. In order to lure Xiaohua into the formation, we did not spread out the 5 brocade cloud diagram earlier. Ha Shanjun, don't tell me you don't have an answer to such a vulgar question. Beigo Jinming smiled faintly. Of the many Confucian cultivators who set up the 5 brocade cloud diagram, only you have truly fought with Xiaohua. How can this old man know something you do not know? Do Shanjun shook his head slightly, a strange expression appearing on his face. He looked at the sea of clouds and sighed. While this student fought with Xiaohua, but this student still cannot see through him. Based on this student's understanding of him, he may not have entered the formation. Back then, this student was not a match for Xiaohua, and when the academy had appeared, he immediately fled. This fits the saying that a gentleman does not stand against a dangerous wall. Why did he change his personality today? Also, back then 100 days ago, he did not even dare to meet the academy head. Why does he dare to face the entire formation now? Unless Xiaohua's strength has greatly increased in these 100 days. This old man does not have to pay attention. Beigo Jinming said with a smile. Is this what you are puzzled about? That's the only possibility. Do Shanjun nodded. But the problem is, while the Taoist sect's abilities are heaven-defying and far from what we Confucian cultivators can compare to, his Taoist sect disciples cannot surpass him so much in such a short time. There is no such thing as possibility or impossibility in this world. Beigo Jinming said coolly. There is only occurrence and non-occurrence. We always thought that the Taoist sect's Xiaohua was hiding in the formation of Black Wind Ridge. Who would have thought that he had escaped long ago? Previously, didn't you say that Xiaohua was benevolent and would not abandon the people of Black Wind Ridge and flee? What about now? You and I are not saints. What we expect is far from the unpredictability of the world. Let's take one step at a time. Student understands. Do Shanjun nodded and sighed. It seemed that he had a very good impression of Xiaohua, who had defeated him. Could it be that a hero cherishes a hero in his heart? Beigo Jinming laughed again. Do Shanjun nodded again. He withdrew his gaze from the sea of clouds and said, although Xiaohua shook my Bronze Pillar Academy and even pushed down the entrance of the academy, when the matter of the old Taoist priest of the Seven Suns Temple came to light, there really aren't many people in the academy who can complain about Xiaohua. There aren't many people who have such courage and righteousness even among us Confucian cultivators. It's a pity that he's too conspicuous. Beigo Jinming snorted coldly from his nose. He's just a lowly disciple of the Tao sect, yet he actually dared to leave behind a blood tablet in the Seven Suns Temple and even offended my Bronze Pillar Academy. That's not all. He actually dared to confront the king and save the orphan of the Jianghu country. Look at what he did just now. He wanted to subdue the Golden Condor King and the Myriad Lion King, and take down the entire Black Cloud Ridge. What kind of place is the Black Cloud Ridge? The border between the Copper Pillar Country, Jianghu country and Jiasa country. Previously, we might not have known the significance of this Black Cloud Ridge, but now, you should understand that there is a huge elemental stone mine beneath the Black Cloud Ridge. Previously, the three countries had sent out a large number of troops to divide the mine underground. Those three monsters were merely the chess pieces of the three countries. Xiaohua's actions? Isn't that the same as courting death? As for the king setting up the Immortal array with such fanfare, it was more to take the Black Cloud Ridge into his own hands. Even if it's the Jiasa country, and the other countries should not covet it. Sigh, student understands. Do Shanjun laughed bitterly. Whether it's the emperor's technique or the dragon's technique, student is still unfamiliar with it. It's hard to think so much. Since ancient times, the academy has been a leisurely place. Your character is relatively simple and is not suitable for the palace. Beigo Jinming laughed. Of course, if you are willing to try after this battle, this old man can recommend you to enter the imperial court as an official. I don't dare. Do Shanjun anxiously waved his hand. This student admits that he does not understand the hearts of people, nor do he know the hearts of officials. If you don't enter the world, how can you come out? Shanjun, you still have to think about it more. Everyone's path is different. Students naturally have their own path, and students still like to walk on their own path. Do Shanjun did not seem to have any intention of letting go. All right, this old man will wait and see. Beigo Jinming smiled and shook his head. It seemed that he thought highly of this Do Shanjun. He twirled his beard and laughed. You are my Bronze Pillar Academy's rare student. At such a young age, you were able to suppress all the other students to become a dean. This old man has deep expectations for you. Chapter 35:12. Just as Beigo Jinming and Do Shanjun were talking, the clouds woven from the five-colored cloud brocade suddenly froze. A layer of five-colored cloud brocade surged from one end of the sky to the other like a tidal wave. Then the entire five-colored cloud brocade covered the entire Black Cloud Ridge. As the five-colored cloud brocade fell, a loud and clear sound of metal rang out from the clouds. It turned out that the 5-colored cloud brocade was instantly covered by a rolling blood-colored brilliance. Hee, Leng Chinga's golden spear iron horse has been activated. Let's see if the state teacher of the Bronze Pillar country can win in one strike. Bagua Jinming raised his eyebrows. A layer of earthen yellow energy appeared in his eyes. His pupils actually diverged, forming 2 overlapping pupils. Dou Shanjun was naturally also concerned. He hurriedly used the clear eyes technique to look below the clouds. Inside the cave, Xiaohua sat with his eyes closed. The black bear spirit and the others were not beside him. Even Xiao Jian and the others were not around. Only Lu Yi, who was on his left, held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He calmly looked to his right. Wang Bianfei was standing there curiously, looking around the cave. Everything was new. Wang Bianfei. Xiaohua sat on the high platform. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Yes, master." Wang Bianfei hurriedly retracted his gaze and replied with a bow. "Master will go out for a walk. You and your senior brother look after the door." Xiaohua stood up and said indifferently. Wang Bianfei did not dare to be negligent. He replied, "Yes, master. Disciple understands. Disciple will definitely seize the time to learn from senior brother. Disciple will be able to understand other people's words as soon as possible." Lu Yi at the side could not understand Xiaohua and Wang Bianfei's words. However, he could guess that Xiaohua was really reminding him. Sure enough, Xiaohua said to Lu Yi, "Lu Yi, master, please speak. You have to teach Wang Bianfei how to speak normally." Xiaohua said. "But master," Lu Yi was in a difficult position. "I don't understand what Wang Bianfei is saying. He also doesn't understand what I'm saying. How can I teach him?" "I won't worry about this," Xiaohua said with a smile. "I've already taught him the qi refinement technique. If you want to know how to cultivate, you have to get it from him." Lu Yi's eyes lit up. He hurriedly smiled and said, "Yes, master. I understand. In addition, call the demons of Mo Yun Ridge and Lion Mountain into the formation. This old man has already expanded the array formation a little, it's enough for them to use." Xiaohua flew out of the Immortal's cave. As he flew, he said, "All of you must not leave the formation during the battle. The great formation outside the Black Cloud Ridge is no small matter. Other than this old man, no one in the Black Cloud Ridge can resist this formation." "I understand." Lu Yi carefully followed Xiaohua out of the Immortal's cave. Wang Bianfei was also quick-witted, following behind Lu Yi in small steps. Similarly, he was exceptionally well-behaved. Xiaohua walked out of the cavern, only to see that his eyes were filled with the color of blood. Bugle horns resounded from the horizon, and the neighs of war horses resounded simultaneously. The entire Black Cloud Ridge seemed to have turned into a bloody battlefield. "Hee, this is getting interesting." Xiaohua looked around, only to see the thousands of demons and many soldiers in the Black Wind Ridge. Although they had a kind of curiosity on their faces, there was no panic in their eyes at all. It was obvious that they were extremely confident in themselves. Under the Black Wind Ridge, the subordinates of the Golden Eagle and White Lion entered the formation in groups in an orderly manner. There was no panic at all, they were all in good order. In the dark forest, the grass is frightened by the wind, the general draws his bow in the night. Looking for the white feather in the light, it is not among the stone ridges. Under the black moon, the wild goose flies high, Chanyu escapes in the night. Wanting to drive away the light cavalry, the heavy snow covers the bow and saber. Open the field, the fine banquet, the Chang tribe's congratulations are in full swing. Drunk and golden armor dance. The thunder agitates the mountains and rivers. Adjusting the arrow and calling the hawk, all of them are out of this world. Rushing fox will rush the pheasants, sweeping the ancient hills. 7 leaves of the pavilion, empty and clear in a corner. He is inscribed in the Qilin pavilion, only he is not famous. Along with the sound of the bugle horn that made people's blood boil, many large inscriptions fluttered in the air, and within those scarlet clouds, there was an awe-inspiring aura that came crashing down, condensing in front of these inscriptions. In just a short moment, blood-red warhorses were born. Not only that, the inscriptions flew high into the sky, condensing into a poem. Between each line of the poem, an awe-inspiring aura surged and overflowed, similarly condensing into several zhang-long spears. A smell of blood emerged from the warhorses that were about to gallop, pouncing towards Xiao Hua amidst the forest of sharp spears. Hee hee. Xiao Hua laughed and said in a long voice, "It is often said that Confucian cultivators do not change their names, nor do they change their surnames. Now, this Xiao has already been standing here for a long time, and not a single person has shown themselves. This kind of shady behavior, what qualifications do you have to dare fight with this Xiao?" A Taoist remnant, unexpectedly speaking such arrogant words. A voice that was even louder than the sound of the bugle horn came from the blood-red warhorse. As soon as this voice came out, all the clouds rolled back, and then a celestial that seemed to be wearing blood-red armor slowly appeared from the void. This celestial was more than 200 feet tall, with a thin face, a hook-like nose, and a pair of eyes that flashed with a cold light. Looking from a distance, this person was wrapped in a Confucian robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns. Various mountain peaks and great rivers were faintly discernible on the Confucian robe. That dignified and vigorous aura was emitted from the Confucian robe, and outside the Confucian robe was a battle armor that protected his chest and back. The battle armor was like a bai, and with countless flashing inscriptions covering the celestial's chest and back, and a fierce beast head with a sharp horn on its head protecting the celestial's abdomen. Under the blood-red brilliance, countless strange runes flowed out from the battle armor, spreading along the torso to the celestial's limbs. Every time these runes flowed, countless small noble chi would be produced from the void, condensing into a spiral shape and falling on the celestial's skin. Looking at the celestial's hand again, it was holding a long spear. The spear was pitch black, without any luster, and the tip of the spear was without a sharp edge. It looked quite unfortunate. "For you." The corner of Xiao Hua's mouth rose slightly as he looked up at the giant flying over on a red cloud in the distance. "For you," the giant shouted, "since you're in front of the battle, how dare you not report your name?" With the giant's roar, a murderous aura rushed toward Xiao Hua from all directions. "Haha, asking without answering is rude. Speaking with a fierce voice is losing your mind. How can someone as disrespectful as you be a match for this Xiao?" Xiao Hua laughed, his whole body flashing with golden light. With a wave of his hand, the wishful steel staff appeared from the space. His whole body slowly grew, and the wishful steel staff also grew. At first, they were only the size of an ordinary horse, but when they rushed in front of Xiao Hua, they were dozens of feet long. They didn't seem to be inferior to Xiao Hua's Dharma body. Moreover, the momentum of the thousands of galloping horses cleansed Xiao Hua's nascent soul aura. What was special was that the thousands of galloping horses raised thousands of pillars of qi. These pillars of qi not only rushed to the sky, but also blasted toward the Black Cloud Mountain. The mountain that was originally filled with black clouds was instantly cleared. The pillars of qi hit the mountain peak, causing the mountain rocks to burst, trees to collapse, and the only river to be cut off. Chapter 35:13. Good, good, good. Xiao Hua's eyes flashed fiercely, and the staff in his hand became thicker and bigger. "I will let you know who is the real hero of this world. I will kill all your men. Let's see what else you can rely on to fight me." As he spoke, he waved the wishful steel staff, and the pillar of great spirit that was heading toward Xiao Hua was immediately smashed into pieces. Although Xiao Hua's figure was huge, he was also very flexible. He did not resist the power of the great spirit pillar. Instead, he borrowed the power of the great spirit pillar. His figure flashed and he kicked the warhorse that was rushing towards him. Peng! There was a loud sound and the warhorse instantly turned into a red mist and dissipated in midair. Humph! Seeing Xiao Hua so brave, Lung Chinga snorted. "You are just a child of the Tao sect. How can you be the enemy of my country? When you are exhausted, won't your bones become soft and your tendons become numb? How can you be my opponent? Boom boom. Pillars of Oranchi were either half a foot in size or tens of feet in size. They all fell from the clouds in the sky, carrying an unconcealable heroic momentum. They wanted to kill Xiaohua, but Xiaohua held the wishful steel staff in his hand and moved through the pillars of Oranchi with ease. The pillars of Oranchi turned the entire black cloud ridge red, but Xiaohua was still unharmed. The blood-red warhorse was indeed as strong as an iron horse, but in front of Xiaohua, who was like a god, it was really fragile. Not only did the iron horse collapse under the punches and kicks, but when Xiaohua's wishful staff touched it, the iron horse also turned invisible. It seemed that Xiaohua was the nemesis of these iron horses. Breaking into the array was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, invincible. Haha. Beigo Jinming, who was high up in the clouds, laughed. He pointed at the tens of thousands of horses and said to Dou Shanjun, Shanjun, as you can see, the militarists have always relied on the power of the army. When they saw that a little cultivator from Dao sect had good martial arts, they had no way to deal with him. It is really a disgrace to the face of the Confucian cultivators. Dou Shanjun knew that the dean of his academy and the imperial preceptor were not on good terms, so he just smiled and did not say much. Suddenly, Dou Shanjun's expression changed slightly. He said in a low voice, Lord Chief, the imperial tutor seems to be using the golden dagger axe. Moreover, it seems like the immortal slaying crossbow and the god slaying bow are hidden in this golden dagger axe. How insidious! There's falsehood in reality and falsehood in falsehood. This is called trickery, and it's the way of the military. Beigo Jinming sneered. Didn't he rely on this to become the state preceptor? Sure enough, as soon as Beigo Jinming's words fell, thousands of golden spears emerged from the clouds in all directions, like a swarm of locusts flying towards Xiaohua. So noisy! Xiaohua shouted, don't you have any real methods? Just these little tricks to scratch this Xiao's itch, what does that count as? As he spoke, Xiaohua didn't seem to care about these golden spears. He strode forward like a wolf in a flock of sheep and continued to chase after Leng Qingge. It can't be? Dou Shanjun was dumbfounded. He raised his hand and said, This Xiaohua actually didn't block the golden dagger axe arrow array? Beigo Jinming also frowned and said in a low voice, Taoist cultivators have a protective golden light. This Xiaohua's cultivation is at the 4th level of origin energy. I'm afraid he can block the golden dagger axe arrow array? But the immortal slaying crossbow and the god slaying bow are precisely used to strangle the Taoist golden dagger axe arrow array. Dou Shanjun was puzzled. Beigo Jinming looked up and down at Dou Shanjun and said with a smile, Shanjun, you know these secrets, but Xiaohua doesn't. Dou Shanjun shook his head slightly. The interest in his eyes was even stronger. He felt that Xiaohua was definitely not as simple as the chief said. Sure enough, pa. Like rain hitting banana leaves, hundreds of golden dagger axes densely hit Xiaohua's golden body. The other thousands of golden dagger axes brushed past Xiaohua's golden body and pierced into the black cloud ridge. Rumble. Bursts of intense sounds came from the mountain ridge. The mountain ridge that was trampled beyond recognition by the iron horse array was now ravaged again. The mountain peak collapsed, the mountain rocks were shattered, and smoke and dust flew in all directions. One could see the power of these golden dagger axes. However, these golden dagger axes that pierced Xiaohua's golden body were barely satisfactory. These golden dagger axes were really like raindrops. They only made Xiaohua's golden body tremble slightly and then slid down from the golden body. They were basically unable to pose any threat to Xiaohua's golden body. Pa. Under Xiaohua's disregard, another wave of golden dagger axes fell down. This time, Xiaohua slightly raised his eyebrows as if he was aware of the abnormality. However, he still ignored it and allowed the golden dagger axes mixed with the execution crossbow and the god-slaying bow to land on his body. Needless to say, the golden dagger axes were still useless. However, the execution crossbow and the god-slaying bow were different. When the crossbow pierced Xiaohua's golden body, thousands of inscriptions swarmed out and flashed with an intense light. They quickly tore apart the golden light of the golden body. A whirlwind that was sharper than a sharp awl emerged from the void and pierced Xiao Hua's golden body. Especially, the inscriptions on the god-slaying bow covered the golden body and annihilated the golden light. The incomparably sharp crossbow pierced deeply into Xiao Hua's body. Unfortunately, no matter how sharp these execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were, they were still mortal weapons. How could they pierce Xiao Hua's demon body that he spent countless efforts to refine? Hundreds of crossbows fell from Xiao Hua's golden body one after another, like the helpless thoughts of the soldiers of the Bronze Pillar country. Leng Qingge watched from afar with an extremely ugly expression. He really didn't expect Xiao Hua to be so vigorous. Moreover, he was also a rare body cultivator in the Dao sect. Wasn't this kind of person with a copper head and iron arms the nemesis of his golden spears and iron horses? The defensive formation that he painstakingly laid down now seemed to have become the reason for Xiao Hua's fame. This old man wants to see how you will break through the siege of the golden spears and iron horses. However, Leng Qingge was also anxious. Inside the 5-brocade cloud diagram, the righteous qi was extremely abundant. Whether it was the golden dagger axes or the god-slaying bow, they were almost endless. Even if the execution crossbows and god-slaying bows were gone, just these alone could exhaust Xiao Hua's strength. Who knew that in the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiao Hua raised his head and laughed loudly. "Ha, old man Leng, so you only have so many tricks up your sleeve. Since you don't have anything new, then I will let you see this Xiao's tricks." As he spoke, Xiao Hua opened his mouth and the seal of the overturning sea flew out. Weng Weng. The entire 5-brocade cloud diagram didn't have any heaven and earth spiritual qi, but with a wave of Xiao Hua's hand, the seal of the overturning sea emitted an intense rumbling sound. In an instant, it expanded to more than 10 zhang. This Xiao Hua is too powerful. In the distance, Jiang Yuming's heart was also shocked. He whispered, "Until now, Leng Qingge has no more tricks up his sleeves." Only then did he take out the Dao sect's magical weapon. What he used to defeat Leng Qingge was only the Dao sect's insignificant Dao. Boom! Just as Jiang Yuming expected, when Xiao Hua's seal of the overturning sea appeared, the coiling dragon roared and rushed into the sky. Xiao Hua pointed his hand again and the seal instantly expanded to several mu in size. As the coiling dragon swooped down, it immediately smashed the 10,000 horses into powder. "Old man Leng, your golden spear is only a..." Xiao Hua sneered. "If you don't make a move, I will beat your disciples and grand-disciples into minced meat. Looks like you really do have some tricks up your sleeve. Come, 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 this old man will fight you for 800 rounds. After being bullied by Xiao Hua to this extent, Leng Qingge could no longer retreat. He waved the Damascus steel spear in his hand and a series of sonic booms rang out, bringing with it numerous pillars of boundless qi that pierced toward Xiao Hua. Why would Xiao Hua be afraid of him? He waved the wishful steel staff and said excitedly, "Why would I need 800 rounds? If you can last 500 rounds in front of this Xiao will throw away his staff and fight to the death with you." When Leng Qingge heard this, his nose almost went crooked from anger. What kind of bet was throwing away his staff and fighting to the death? Even if you don't have your staff, don't you still have your magical weapon? But before Leng Qingge could say anything, the suffocating wind from the staff was already coming at his head. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Xiao Hua really overestimated Leng Qingge. Although Leng Qingge was a great general of the military school and could be considered a peak cultivator of the 4th level of origin energy, how could his strength be compared to Xiao Hua's? Moreover, the moves and boundless qi that Leng Qingge relied on were nothing in front of Xiao Hua. Just as Leng Qingge was about to be defeated by Xiao Hua, a layer of blue cloud brocade fell from the sky like a rainbow, falling right in front of Xiao Hua's nascent soul hand. From the brocade, thousands of wind, fire, and mountains rushed out to block Xiao Hua's path. Chapter 35:14. Puff. The Yuanying's hand fell, and thousands of wind and fire mountains were crushed, turning into countless inscriptions dancing in the air. At the same time, the cloud brocade was also pulled down, turning into a mighty chi. Lung Chinga took advantage of this gap and hurriedly put away the golden dagger axe, turned around, and disappeared into the clouds. Hee, it turns out to be a battle of attrition. Xiaohua put away the Yuanying's hand and coldly looked at the cyan cloud brocade rapidly emerging from the sky. Like the previous crimson cloud, it covered the entire sky. He sneered. This Xiao thought that the Confucian cultivators were trustworthy people. Only Lung Chinga and this Xiao would fight, and no one else would intervene. Since the Confucian cultivators are so shameless, forget it, tell me your name. This one is Jiang Yuming. Jiang Yuming did not have a golden body of 20 feet. He appeared in the sky and faintly replied. The Jiang family of the Bronze Pillar country? This is really interesting. Xiaohua smiled as if he had seen his prey. He stretched out his finger and waved it a few times in the air. Have you washed your neck clean? This Xiao didn't look for you, and you actually dare to come and seek death? Xiaohua's behavior was tantamount to naked provocation and insult, but Jiang Yuming was not angry. He still faintly replied, the grudge between my Jiang family and you is a private grudge. The grudge between my Bronze Pillar country and your Jiang country is a national grudge. My Jiang family is now under the orders of the emperor to destroy the remnants of the Dao sect. It has nothing to do with my Jiang family's grudge. Using official power for personal gain is actually said by you in such a dignified manner. This Xiao is really speechless. Xiaohua sneered and pointed with the wishful staff in his hand. I don't care what your reason is. Since you are here, leave your life. We haven't fought yet, who knows who will leave their life. Jiang Yuming raised his eyebrows, opened his mouth, and spat out a mouthful of cyan qi. In the air, the cyan cloud brocade that had originally covered the entire sky suddenly lit up, and countless inscriptions emerged from the clouds. These inscriptions were either jumping, flying, or cruising. As these inscriptions danced, a deep voice emerged from the void. These voices were either rhythmic or disorderly, but between each word and sentence, all the inscriptions gradually had a rhythm. Isn't that the meaning of the 100-seed book array? Xiaohua looked doubtfully at the familiar array formation in front of him. He was very puzzled. He had used the green seal script to break the 100-child book array in the Copper Pillar Academy. How could this Jiang Yuming not know? Why did he have to use the Confucian cultivators' book array again and again? But in the sky, millions of inscriptions first condensed into sentences and then gathered into articles. Pieces of articles floated in front of Xiaohua's eyes, and sounds of recitation came from the void. The entire 5-brocade cloud atlas was solemn, as if he had entered a school. Looking at the place where Jiang Yuming was previously, Jiang Yuming's figure had already disappeared. Similarly, there were many inscriptions violently churning. However, what these inscriptions condensed was not an article, but a human figure about the same size as Xiaohua. Xiaohua swept a glance over and understood that this was the so-called child, transformed from Jiang Yuming's true qi. That could kill with words and poems. Boom. When the thousands of articles finally gathered together and condensed into books, for huge books flashing with blue light appeared in the sky. Wind. With a loud shout, the already formed character opened its mouth, and the first of the 4 books slowly opened. A gust of wind mixed with a clamorous sound rushed out from the book and rushed toward Xiaohua. Isn't this the method of my Taoist? You actually dare to show off in front of this Xiao. Xiaohua saw the hurricane coming and laughed loudly. He rubbed his hands and rays of light flashed. In front of Xiaohua, 100 feet tall yellow earth shield blocked the hurricane. Woo! Woo! Bursts of wind like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves collided with the earth shield. The earth shield flashed with a faint brilliance, blocking the hurricane without any difficulty. However, Xiaohua, who was behind the earth shield, felt a little strange because the earth shield did not block all of the hurricane. Some of the wind still passed through the earth's shield and blew on Xiaohua's body. At first, Xiaohua did not care, but as the impact of the hurricane became stronger, the earth's shield's brilliance flashed rapidly, and the wind blowing on Xiaohua's body also became stronger. In particular, the woo-woo wind was mixed with a strange sound. At this time, Xiaohua already understood that it was actually some common words. These words were clearly some inscriptions that Xiaohua did not understand, but Xiaohua's heart became more and more agitated with this sound. As his agitation became more and more intense, a kind of bone-softening and numbing feeling came from the golden body. Xiaohua was shocked. He understood in his heart that his transcendence golden body was not simple. It was different from the transcendence golden body of the Buddhist sect. It was based on his physical body and was displayed using the heavenly laws embodiment of heaven and earth technique. Xiaohua was confident that this golden body could not be damaged by an ordinary flying sword. How could it be damaged by a simple hurricane? Boom! Just as Xiaohua was shocked, the earth shield that was as hard as iron and stone was destroyed by the hurricane. The wind whistled and drowned Xiaohua's golden body in an overwhelming manner. As long as the Taoist sect's cultivators' Tao heart isn't pure and hasn't broken free from the bonds of the mortal world, they'll definitely fall into their trap. Confucian cultivators, Confucian cultivators, they're really scheming. Haha. Thinking of this, Xiaohua laughed and sang, "My heart is clear, my will is righteous, I wish my heart to face heaven and earth, why should I be afraid of others' rumors? My body is stone, my body is gold, I wish my body to stand in heaven and earth, I'm not afraid of others' rumors. My heart can accommodate heaven and earth, all things in heaven and earth are in my thoughts. My body can accept glory, my liver and gallbladder can be bright." Along with Xiaohua's laughter, the sound of lightning and thunder stopped. The Buddha's relics in Xiaohua's Naiwan palace formed the Akala seal and sat upright. In his middle dantian, the three-colored heavenly heart protected his 5 viscera and 6 bowels and slowly rotated. The nascent soul in his lower dantian also calmly cultivated. It was like he was strong, he was strong, he was strong, he was strong. It was also strange. Xiaohua's thoughts were clear and he wasn't afraid of 100 disasters. Although the wind was fierce and the rumors still entered his ears, Xiaohua didn't listen to them. He was like an indomitable man, he was independent and couldn't be shaken by the so-called rumors and rumors. His heart was calm and his body was firm. The hundreds of millions of inscriptions attacked Xiaohua's golden body. The golden body's light alternated between bright and dark without any signs of dimming. Instead, the golden light became more and more tenacious, as if Xiaohua was tempering his body. How is this possible? High up in the sky, the heads of the Jianghu family's children appeared with true energy to support the child in midair. When they saw Xiaohua actually break the wind formation in such a short time, they were all stupefied. The most powerful element of the Jianghu family's wind, forest, fire, and mountain was the wind. Who knew how many cultivators couldn't see through this rumors and slanders, and their mental state was destroyed by the waves? Words could kill people, but those that could kill themselves were just slanders. If one's mental state wasn't really bright and wasn't hurt by the world's rumors, who could escape this heart-destroying wind? Xiaohua was actually able to stand in the face of the wind. It was really too inconceivable. Why wait until now? Xiaohua revealed his Dharma body and stood there calmly, countering each move as it came. It was as if the bamboo in his heart had already grown long ago. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuming's heart immediately turned cold, but at this moment, an old Confucian next to him said angrily, "Quick, activate the fire array. Let's take advantage of this guy's complacency and let him taste the power of our Confucian cultivator's fire. It's hard to stop halfway. Let's wait until after this battle." Jiang Yuming felt bitter in his heart, but since it had already come to this, how could he stop? Thus, Jiang Yuming gathered his thoughts and focused on fighting the enemy. Sure enough, Just as Xiaohua activated the cauldron and used the Samadhi True Fire to destroy all the forest arrays, he was about to show off his power again and activate the flames to burn the 4 scrolls. Boom! The huge Z raised his hand and the 3rd scroll opened. Flames poured out from the scroll like a rain of fire falling from the sky. Huh! Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. This Xiao is activating the flames. Why are they still using fire to attack? However, the fire of the 5 brocade cloud painting was different from Xiaohua's fire. The color of the fire was light green, and countless inscriptions flowed within the flames. Waves of noble qi rushed into the flames. This green flame did not mix with Xiaohua's Samadhi True Fire. When the two touched, they even passed through. Damn it, what kind of fire is this? Xiaohua could be considered a cultivator who had seen the origin of fire. Whether it was the Samadhi True Fire or the 2-colored spiritual fire, they were all flames that were hard to find in the world. However, he still could not understand what kind of fire this green flame was. Because the flames had already reached his body, the golden light protecting his body could not stop them. Although the sky was filled with a rain of fire, Xiaohua did not feel the heat of the flames at all. They knew that Xiaohua was a body cultivator, but they never thought that a cultivator could cultivate his strength to such a level. The wind, forest, fire, and fire scattered. The Jianghu family of the Bronze Pillar country was completely defeated. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.